to join us.
I need to answer your question after the APA 1984 or 1941 All-Star game next week. The week after is payoff pitch 2018 Milwaukee at Pittsburgh from July
Oh, okay.
15th. And then it goes to replay and then inside. And then back to Pine Tar. So it's this rotation going.
Okay. Sounds good. Why is it not broadcasting? Oh, there it goes. Finally.
It says live.
Yeah, it is now. Alrighty, guys, we're just going to hang out for a few minutes and just chat with y'all as we get ready for our start here at we'll give everyone about 5 minutes to join us up. And we're going to talk our end of June, already through June already, baseball season. So a lot to talk with, and we're just going to give everyone a chance to join us up and hook up with us before we get started here. So we're kind of talking baseball offline here with baseball demos and sports time machines. So please be joining us, and thank you if you can make it. Got a lot to talk about tonight, though. Ooh, boy, we got a lot to talk about. And of course, David went, and the only time we can get him to be quiet is when he leaves.
Hey, I'm trying to bring Tabby in here.
So. Hey, sports fans there. Roger Ward is here. Hello, Roger and Phantomatic. How you doing, Phantomatic and Roger? Hope all is well with you guys tonight. We've got a lot to talk about for June baseball. We've got our all-star lineup we got to do. We got to talk about our different division races. Talk about events that happened. Probably talk on Tyler Skaggs a little bit, and all that coming up shortly.
Along with that, and some fish.
I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
We're gonna along with some fish and chips from the weekend.
Some fish. Oh, yeah, that's right. The London series, right? All the important events that happened in June. Lots of important events.
How that might affect the ballpark results talking about different talk shows you've been doing about if there's going to be a specific card from the London series and the London Stadium, and
there will be on payoff pitch.
Yes, I think most of the different companies do create a special sheet for that. A payoff pitch has like a separate card for each of the different locations, and next year it's going to be Cubs Cardinals.
Heaven help them. That was some terrifying games to watch this weekend.
And these were Boston home games. Is that what
John Henry made a decision to give up 2 of his home dates for this. So
okay. Hey, Vlogs, what's going on? Vlogs, I need to get with you sometime if you want to join in on our baseball discussion. You can email me at idjesterlive@gmail.com, and maybe we can set up a time ahead of time and talk through some stuff. And then we can see about getting you on next month. We kind of miss Ronnie. Ronnie's playing hooky on us. That's not cool.
He's on his staycation.
Yeah.
Well, he did put out the golf game. That was pretty interesting.
Tabletop Sports Delaware. How's he going, man? He's doing some Gettysburg. New, an old game. An old board game from Avalon Hill. He started doing a replay of that on his channel.
I made a comment on his channel. I said I thought it reminded me of the movie Remember the Titans and the Gettysburg Walk. Kind of bring sports into this military thing.
Larry Harris is here as well. All right, Larry, how you doing tonight? It's good stuff though from Tabletops Sports, aka Stratomatic Delaware. But now that he's changed his name, he's did that on purpose just to screw me up. But haven't got to see much of his stuff recently, so good to see him back in the saddle again. One of the generals is called Abner Doubleday. Oh, that's funny.
And Ken Burns did a Civil War and a baseball series.
Yeah, I was actually looking at my bunch of my war game collections. As you all know, Steam has got their super sale going on right now, and I've been spending a lot of time there looking to see what I need, updates. I've bought a couple of the Talisman expansions and stuff that I didn't have because they're like 50% off or whatever. So he was a Union general, the Abner Doubleday. Larry Harris said he went and seen the Reds beat up on the Cubs last Friday in Cincinnati. All right. How come we didn't see any photos or anything there, Larry? Come on, buddy. Let's post some
Wasn't there a
stuff.
fight in that game? Didn't Yasiel Puig start a fight or somebody hit him or
No,
something?
not against. It was against Pittsburgh, wasn't it? It wasn't
I
against
thought it was the
Cubs.
Cubs. I thought it might have been the Cubs.
Yeah, I'm going to the game going to the minor league game on Thursday, and I'm hoping to take some stuff, but of course you can't go live with it, so we'll upload it when I'm done.
Oh,
Since I don't have a theft. Well, if somebody wants to give me 800 subscribers while we're here, come on, let's have a drive.
All right, let's talk. Let's get him some subscribers. In fact, you know what? We got a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and get started. We gave everyone a little bit of time to join up and get things started here. So we got a lot to talk about. This is our end of June baseball review show. I'm your host, IDJESTER. We got two great sports broadcasters and YouTubers that are going to help discuss the month of June. The one, the only, David from Baseball Demos. How you doing tonight, David?
I'm doing very well, ID. How about yourself?
Doing great. And of course, not to be outdone, another great channel out there, Sports Time Machine Utah. Mike, what's going on, brother?
Hey, ID, how are you? Doing good.
All right. We got a lot to talk about, gentlemen, so we're going to get right into it. And if I forget anything, make sure we talk about it at the end. So I want to just say hi to everyone that came out to visit us tonight. Larry Harris, Tabletop Sports Delaware, Roger Ward, Vlogs 18. Who else am I looking for there? Phantom Manic, and everyone else that come by. So June, the month of June of baseball, it went by quick. It seemed like we just had this conversation a couple weeks ago. So it went by. The month of June went by really, really quickly, and but a lot of important and good and bad things had happened in the month of June. So, Major League Baseball home run record was set in May 2019 for most home runs. Guess what month just broke that record?
And the England series helped.
And that's for sure. So June broke the record, 1,142 home runs in the month of June. And what do you think about that? All these home runs.
I don't like it.
Okay.
I think the balls are made differently now. They're wound tighter, and it's taking a lot of the strategy away from the game. I like small ball. I mean, home runs used to mean something. Now it's like, home run, big deal. It used to really mean something when somebody had a home run. 40 home runs used to be a milestone. But now it's like anybody and their brother can hit 30 home runs.
All right. So if that's the case, Mike, what do you think about that? And I'll save my question until after Mike gives his reply.
One of my favorite games in history was the Cubs Cubs Phillies 23-22 game. Yes, there's something about a 1-0 baseball game that pisses off the non-baseball fans out there, because they can look at a 3-hour 1-0 game and wondering why in the heck are you sitting watching something like this. So yeah, there's part of me that likes those 1-0 games for that fact, but I am also a long ball type person and enjoy the long ball also. So, that London series didn't kind of made me change my mind a little bit the way things were flying out of there. But to be honest, I've always been a like those. I don't know. We can pull back in baseball history. You will see a time where Major League Baseball was going through a major funk for a couple years, where there was more pitching and the home runs were being hit, and all of a sudden, in the last couple years, all of a sudden we have the quote unquote roid era back in effect here, where you have the Major League Baseball players. Some of them are going to hit 40, 50 home runs this year and have the OPS is over 1,000 again, and like they weren't happening a few years back. So if you look at it, for a while there, we were back in we were having some of the more worst total OPS history was some of the worst that was ever happening. And all of a sudden, we've ramped that back up in the last year or two with some of the best seasons of all time. So I don't know if it's the ball. All of a sudden, they changed it. Why can we not get the same ball that we're using 2 years ago? Why all of a sudden we need to have a change? I mean, that should be looked into. I mean, hello, Mr. Manfred. Why is there a need for new balls? They were just fine a couple years ago. I mean, look at the stats like these. It's just crazy comparing 2-3 years ago, the end of the year, when you look at total OPS, total home runs, compared to what you're going to have last year and this year combined.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you said. You're spot on. I think they said 5 of the 6 highest totals for months, home runs, are within the last 2 years. So they changed the baseball. We all know that. They did a study. They were talking about that on the radio today. When I went out to pick up something for lunch, I heard them talking about it. I don't remember the study, but they talked about the leather, the way the ball has been round. It's actually, the ball is rounder now. The laces are tucked in tighter. So there's less aerodynamic drag. There's a bunch of blah, 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 blah. But my question is, okay, here's my question. If things are so screwy with, all these home runs, why are we not hearing about somebody hitting going to break the record for all-time home runs?
Because they strike out too much.
Because they strike out too much.
That's also a record being broken.
What do we have? Barry Bonds, 72 home runs. Somebody should be able to beat that if the ball is being juiced the way it is. And, you take somebody that could normally hit 50 home runs, which there's a bunch of them out there. Yelich, I mean, he's hitting 30. I think he's the second National League player to hit 30 home runs before the All-Star break, as I'm trying to remember what the actual stat I read was. So is he going to hit, is he going to get 76, 78, 79, 80? I guess what I'm saying is there's this, back in the steroid era, there was, oh my God, the guys are so big and bulky and blah, blah, blah. And that's why they're hitting all the home runs and blah, blah, blah. Well, now the big thing is, okay, well, they're not on steroids anymore, or most of them aren't, and the ball's different. So why aren't we not talking about all these home runs being hit? Why are we not talking about breaking the home run record when we have a month where it had the most home runs ever? Why are we not going, okay, this year somebody's going to break the all-time home run record? Is there just not as good players now as there was back then? So maybe it wasn't all steroids then, is what I'm saying.
What I'm thinking had something to do with it. If you go back to 2001 and that Bonds year, I think you're looking about, what is it here, 18 years of pitching. I think they're the more quality bullpen arms, if you look at it, are so much better now with the guys throwing, like they're saying, once in a while you'll get a pitcher who pitches 98, 99 miles an hour. Now everyone out of the bullpen has to throw 95, 98 miles an hour. There's no longer this Mark Ripsinski type, or this guy who comes in, or he's the guy Oliver Perez who's out there still, who comes out there, throws basically a couple pitches to a lefties, and he's out of there. Well, that's going to change. So what's going to happen when they go next year? They go to this new rule format where they force the managers not to have selective pitchers out there who has to pitch to more than one batter. Is that going to make it worse next year, or is it going to make it better? It's going to force some of these pitchers to sit out there and not get pulled after the first batter.
David, what do you got to say about all this?
Well, I think he hit on something with the bullpen arms, because you're not getting to face the starters for the third time again. And a lot of those home runs back in the day came off the third at bat when the pitcher was getting a little bit tired. Now they're getting a fresh arm throwing 97 and with movement every time, so it's getting hard. And that's why they're striking out more. Can't hit home runs if you're striking out. And when there's more strikeouts in a year than hits, something's wrong.
Wow, that's a good stat, Dave.
Well, yeah, but I mean, again, I see this. There's a hole, and I need the hole filled in, because, you know, it was before we got all these guys that are juiced up, and that's why they're hitting all the home runs, right? And that's what everybody believes. I think it did have a little bit of effect, but I don't think it had the effect that everybody's claiming it did, because we're now in the same day and age now where we were 10 years ago when everyone was on steroids, and nobody's talking about why all of a sudden we're not having, a home run being challenged for the most home runs in the season, having 2 or 3 players being able to do that, or 4 or 5 players, or whatever it is. I think what's happening now is, there's something going on with something else, but nobody's talking about it. So maybe the steroid era wasn't as big a thing as people made it out to believe.
I mean, you had a part of it, but you still have to have skill to be able to hit the ball. So I think the thing with Bonds that got him over so much too is he went to play with body armor, so the pitchers couldn't throw inside. I mean, to me, that was just as big of a factor as the steroids were.
There's lots of guys. There's lots of guys that come to the plate with 3 or 4 pieces of armor on, and you're talking little guys too, like Javi Baez. He comes on with like 5 things himself, and he's just a little guy.
Yeah, that's just too much. I mean, that's just too much.
I have a question and a thought in all this. Now I know what the answer. Oh shoot! What happened to my thing?
You're all right.
Hang on. No, I'm still here. Okay, sorry. Okay. My question and thought is, we're hitting all these home runs, and I know the reason is going to be safety, but how come we're not going back to 1968 and the Bob Gibson era and lowering this mound again? I know exit velocity, velos, all that crap. You're not going to invest in getting 10 pitchers hit by pitches when they're hitting the ball back to the box 120 miles an hour when you're less than 60 feet away. If you're lowering the mound, but God, give these pitchers. I mean, then again, we are striking out. We are right now in the era where we're striking out the most of any of these. So I guess that it's not like the pitchers are totally disadvantaged. Just some of these bullpens are not as deep, and they're just getting shelled. I mean, you can't tell Max Scherzer this, who's just goes in there and does his job every day and pitches 7, 8, 9 innings. But then you get to the 3rd or 4th starter in some of these teams, and oh boy, let's go. Let's get some of these opener guys and light them up. And Yankees have hit almost 30 home runs in consecutive days or consecutive games. I mean, I guess my comment doesn't make as much sense, but I guess the pitchers are not that disadvantaged. I guess if we're getting that many strikeouts too.
Yeah, I don't see an advantage for the pitcher. I don't see the advantage for the hitter. Right? For me personally, I think it's still balanced. I still think when someone comes up to the plate, there's still a chance he's going to get a hit, and there's just as good a chance he's going to be out, either a strikeout or a regular out. Okay, and that's the way baseball's been since day one. I don't see that changing anyways. I think here's what I think the home run is changed. It's not the guys, those 4 or 5 guys that hit like 50, 60 home runs each season, right? It's not those guys that are benefiting from this. It's all the guys that hit like 3 or 4 or 5 home runs And now because of launch angle and all this cybernetics and all that, they're now hitting it, and instead of hitting 3 and 4 and 5 home runs, they're up to 10, 12, 15. And you do that 3 or 4 players on a team, then all of a sudden you got an extra 30 to 40 to 50 home runs per team. You add that up, and it's going to all be a lot more home runs throughout the season.
Yeah, then why do we still got 3 major league teams still without a still? Oh no, that was last month. I mean, how many major league teams are still looking for their 30th? Are still looking for their 30th win, and we still got 2 teams are still looking for their 30th win. 3 about 32 wins, and we're in July, so it's not like the pitching is totally. It's very saturated on a lot of these teams. Again, there's this big hill of really good teams, and again, like we talked about in April, a really sloth of absolute junk out there on some of these teams.
Well, one man's junk is another man's treasure. When I guess I see the glass as half full while you see it as half empty. I'm thinking, I mean, I haven't done any statistics, and maybe that'll be our project for next month. Is we'll go and analyze some statistics and compare the ERAs from this season, from the halfway point from this season and the last few seasons, and also the home runs and the strikeouts, and compare them and see if there's a trend up or a trend down. Maybe that's a good project for us to do. Maybe I'll just assign that to David, and he'll give us all the details at the end of July. What do you think, David?
Homework, huh?
More homework for you, buddy. More homework. All
Hey,
right, so go ahead.
I turned my homework in ID this morning.
Yes, you did. We're going to talk about that here shortly. Before we get to that, though, let's talk about, we mentioned it a little bit earlier, the London series. Good, bad for baseball, good for baseball. The way the game's played, was it good for baseball? Trying to get your, long-term goal, right? Baseball in Europe with like maybe 3 or 4 or 5 teams in Europe, and then teams traveling back and forth. Is that what they want to do from this? Well, what do you guys think? Is this good for baseball? Is this a waste of time? I enjoyed watching it, but it's like, wow. What do you guys think?
Baseball needs new markets, with the exception of the Dominican Republics, the Venezuela, the international markets. If you look at Major League Baseball, besides like Max Kepler who plays for the Minnesota Twins, he's of German descent. There's not many European baseball players who are out there, and baseball absolutely wants to expand that market and to find the next Max Kepler out there. And I think for them, that's great. Do we want this to be a regular seasonal thing? No, because the travel schedule we will never get through the season. We'll be in November by the time the World Series hits, because we're giving some of these teams 2-3 days of off dates just to catch up on everything. Yankees had 2 days off, played 2 days, had Monday off. They're playing again today. Now they're playing 6 in a row until the All-Star break. Really? I mean, holy cow. I mean, it was nice watching it, to be honest. I'm where the game started for me at 11 o'clock and 8 a.m. So I was at work watching the game both days. Made it easy. So I like that. I like that aspect of it. But yeah, if we're just doing it to find the next Max Kepler type to be the majors, who can be a good baseball player and who's not going to embarrass themselves, yeah, great idea. If we're looking to expand, no, we already have enough bad pitching already, and I don't, if we're gonna do any kind of expansions, and I'm sorry, ID, we could talk about it for another show, but the other thing that was brought up in the month of June was the idea of moving the Rays out to Montreal to be the Montreal Rays or the Tampa Bay Expos to split their time, and that's an absolute joke. They just need to move them and get rid of them, in my opinion. But again, that could be a conversation starter.
All right. You don't have to apologize or anything, Mike. We're just having a good time talking, and everybody's got a point of view. If you disagree with me, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
You might agree with me. I'm not sure. I don't know what your opinion is, but
We'll talk about that. Actually, maybe when we get a chance. But I want to hear what David has to say about international baseball.
Well, if you know me, you know I'm a wet blanket when it comes to that because I'm a traditionalist. Don't like the DH. Don't like playing baseball outside of the country, except maybe Toronto was fine. To me, it was a joke. It was a joke for baseball. If they want to play that, do it in the exhibition, do it in March or whatever. Don't do it in the regular season. Don't make it count. It was a farce. And they're already scheduled to do it again next year. They already said that, which is a joke too. But if the baseball wants to work on marketing, work on marketing here. Work on getting more than 5,000 people at a Tampa game, or 10,000 people more at a Miami game. We get plenty of marketing here. We don't need to go off somewhere else and we can let Max Kepler, the next Max Kepler, come up to Japan or something. Or they got cricket out there. They don't need baseball.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with a little bit of everything you guys have said, but my opinion is it was kind of a joke in the fact that if they were out there to get, to expand the marketing, expand baseball to Europe, what do they plan on doing with that? They're not going to have the London Knights as a baseball team because the travel would be insane for teams going back and forth. And as Mike already said, days off because you can't just go to London and then fly back to the U.S. and have a game. So you're going to have day off over there and a day off on the way back. And so, the season is going to be 12 months long as opposed to, 8 months long or whatever it is now. So if you're going over there for just to expand it, I kind of like David's idea where, you do it in the preseason, you take your couple teams over there or whatever, but you don't make it count because you're not doing it for a long-term goal. They're not going to have the London Knights out there as a baseball team number 31 or the, Amsterdam Hamsters or whatever it is. They're not going to have them. So I think, as David said, they need to do a better job of doing what they got with the teams they got already, or getting rid of some of these teams. We one of the other things we haven't even talked about is maybe you start axing teams and put it on the teams to say you need to have X amount of people show up at your stadium each year, or you're no longer a team. We're going to get rid of you. And then you take some of these bad players that Mike has complained about, and you get rid of them because they won't have any jobs anymore.
Yep.
So this kind of the best of both worlds, I guess. If they want another team, I think it's got to be take an existing team that's not doing very well, like AKA Miami or AKA Tampa. Move them to somewhere else that's more viable. Montreal, Vancouver. Vancouver, I think, would be a great baseball town. Nobody's even talked about that. They got a hockey town. They got a professional hockey. So if they can support a hockey team, they can support a baseball team. I don't even know if they'd be interested. They might have to build a stadium. I'm just throwing out ideas. Just ballparking here at this point. But Tampa, as Utah Mike said, was on the brink of, what are we going to do with Tampa next year? And this has been going on for multiple years. And after, 4 or 5 seasons, it's now to the point where Major League Baseball has stepped in and said, we need to do something about this. And their idea of splitting Tampa between Montreal and Tampa Bay, which sounds like a good idea, is actually, I think, a worse idea because you don't have that team loyalty, so nobody's going to come out. I mean, it's going to be if they do it, they would play the first part of the season in Tampa when the weather is cool. Then they would go in the middle of the summer to Montreal for a couple months when it's nice and warm up in Montreal, and then they'd come back to Tampa in the fall. And that sounds great, but what if I'm a Tampa fan? And my team's here for 2 months and then it goes away for 4 months? Do you think I care when it comes back? I don't think I would. I don't think most people would. And as a Montreal person, if I'm in Montreal, I don't get to see my team for the first couple of months of the season, except for on TV. I don't get to meet the players. They never come visit, nothing. Then you don't have that connection as well. So I don't think it's a very good idea. What do you guys think? David?
And what if Tampa Bay / Montreal happens to make the playoffs? Do they play that game in Tampa or Montreal?
Another good point. Didn't even think about that. Very good point.
Or do they flip a coin?
Or do they play the first game in Tampa and then travel
maybe.
all the way to Montreal and play the second game in Montreal? Would that not be crazy?
Yeah. They'll let Toronto play in Montreal so they don't have to travel as far to Tampa.
I mean, I think Tampa, it's a damn shame because they're having a really good season last season and they're having a really good season this season. But they just can't get the support because the stadium, I know you guys don't know it, but to get in there and out of there is really hard. I have to actually cross the Skyline Bridge to get over there, which costs like $1.50 on the way over and $1.50 on the way back. So, you add in that expense to go to multiple games, that adds up after, you go to 10 games. That's an extra ticket that I'm spending just in tariffs to get over there and back.
And the sad thing is Tampa is one of the more fun teams to watch. I mean, they're almost a National League team in the American League with the way they play their style. They got pitching and defense, a little bit of speed. They don't have any big power hitters. They play kind of old-fashioned ball. They got one of the best managers in baseball, but nobody watches them.
Yep. And the biggest problem from Tampa, and I'm going to tell you what the biggest problem is, and I don't have an answer. And you talk to my wife and all the other people here in Tampa, they go to the games, and the first thing out of their mouth when we leave the game is, and a buddy of mine with his family came down, we took them to a game, they said the same thing. It's not a baseball game because it's not outside. You don't get that outside feeling. It's in a dome, and it just doesn't feel that way. But you can't not have a dome because it was 98 degrees here today. And with the humidity, it's like 107. So imagine the players trying to play when it's 107 degrees outside. So you can't not have a dome, but nobody wants to go to the dome, which means, what do you do to fix the situation? It's not, the weather's not going to change. How do you fix that situation? It's just a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Well, there's one.
I think a lot of people would go if they had a new stadium that was outside and in nice temperatures. Now it's hot. It's hot in Texas. It's hot in a lot of other places, but it's not like hot here because we have a lot of humidity because of all the water.
Okay.
What do you think, Mike?
I don't know, because you can't. I don't know about the old idea of you build it, they will come. The whole Kevin Costner Field of Dreams thing, because Miami's new ballpark. What is their? I mean, under Baseball Reference, where does Miami fit in for the attendance? Are they dead last in attendance, second to last? So they built the ballpark. What has that done for them? And I don't know if their stadium is. I know their stadium is somewhat retractable. I don't know if they play. But I guess they play all their games inside. So,
yeah.
so the new ballpark hasn't exactly helped them much, and Miami has torpedoed most of their seasons in the last couple years. So I don't know if that's a fact. Maybe if you give Tampa Bay a winning product, better stadium, maybe more people show up. Okay, let me ask ID something also. Something you enjoy to do every single year is to go to see minor league baseball. Right or wrong, the games you go to, aren't they sold out most of the time?
Oh yeah, I mean, just
people
about
love
every
minor
one
league.
was sold out. Yeah,
people love minor league baseball down there. How come they can't get into major leagues?
That's again. I think it all comes down to weather, and nobody. If Tampa Bay was having a game tonight, I would have to debate. Do I want to go because I have to, if because they have a dome, an old crappy dome. I know I'm not going to see really. It's not a. It's like watching a movie that's a bad movie. You're happy you're going to see a movie, but it just so happens it was a bad movie, right? So it's the same thing with Tampa Bay. You're going to the stadium, which is bad, but you enjoyed it because it was, your team. You get to watch your team. If they had a new stadium there, it's probably wouldn't change anything for me though, because it's still I gotta drive all the way over there. I gotta pay all these, to get there. I gotta pay for the tickets. I gotta walk from my car. By the time I get to the stadium, I'm already sweating, and my shirt's wet, and just from walking from my car to the stadium, and nobody wants to do that.
Well, let me ask you real quick. How much rain do you get from April to October every year? Do you get a lot of rain?
We usually get what they call the afternoon showers. What happens is the humidity builds up throughout the day, and then in like 3 or 4 o'clock, it all comes down for an hour, and then it's done.
So can we not make a Toronto retractable dome? Because I was watching Yankee series where they actually they were able to open up the dome for their last game of that series. Sky Dome looks actually, or Rogers Center looks like a really nice place to watch a game at when the dome's open.
Yeah, but I mean, what's the temperature up there though? It's not 107 degrees.
Yeah.
You see, that's the problem. If we had a retractable dome, I don't think that fixes the problem, because you can't open the dome when it's 107 degrees out.
Well, I know Texas is building another stadium, and I guess they're going to be ready to go within. I guess it's around where Jerry's Dome is. I guess somewhere around there. So it's going to be. They were saying so. I guess they're going to get rid of Globe Park, which is actually looks like a really nice ballpark. But I guess they're fearing the same problems, and they want to give them an indoor stadium also.
The other thing you got to think about is there's a lot of people in Florida during the winter time, but then a lot of people leave Florida. They call them down here snowbirds. So they come down in the winter, and then they go back home in the summertime. So the population of Florida is like a third in the summertime. So you don't have that population like you have, constant in other states as well. So you lose a lot of baseball fans as they go back to Missouri and Ohio and everywhere else that they're from. So, anyways, it's a good discussion. More things to talk about, think about. I think the best option for Major League Baseball is take Tampa and Miami, relocate them to other cities. I mean,
yeah,
I think it's just because of the weather and the climate. Florida gets they get the preseason games. Just let them have the preseason games and spring training, and then they just miss out. And if they want to go, I mean, Atlanta's like 8 hours away, so it's a haul for me. But if I wanted to go watch a game, I could.
Yep. You won't like this idea, but that was you were leading right into my thought that to me, Florida and Arizona both are spring training states, not major league states. And I don't think there should be a team in Arizona or Florida in the major leagues.
Yeah,
they should be for spring training only.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, it's just
Florida gets their baseball all March, so February, March.
Yeah,
you can overload on baseball all you want.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm sure the spring training games are very well attended.
Yeah, they're a great time, and they're a third of the cost of normal games. A lot of times people just show up for like half a game and then they leave. Because they don't want to watch the scrubs and all that. I'll end up in the front row, right by the third base dugout, where I get to shake hands with Aaron Judge when I don't even know who Aaron Judge was at the time. Because nobody else, everybody's leaving the stadium early because they don't want to see the scrubs.
And at a major league game, they look like little ants. That's about as close as you can get to the players. You got to have binoculars to see them.
Exactly. All right, so that's kind of our takes about June. We had the London series. We had the most home runs. We had the debacle of trying to decide what to do with Tampa Bay. Was there anything else that was you guys wanted to bring up that was important events or anything that happened in June?
Well, I think a couple of free agent pickups were pretty significant in June.
Oh, yeah, we haven't talked about that. Go ahead, David. Tell everybody in case they haven't.
Well, I mean, Dallas Keuchel looks, at least early on, looks like a great pickup for Atlanta. Fits right into that rotation and joins right in. Now, Craig Kimbrell, different story for the Cubs. He's struggling a little bit. Did I zoom out again?
You did, but you're back.
I'm back.
Yeah, you were.
I were
Mike, what do
okay.
you think? The free agent pickups. We were all deciding at the end of the May show who they were going to go to. I don't think any of us got it right. But
No, because everyone's we're gonna say my Yankees were gonna get Keiko, and all of a sudden he wanted to keep the beard, I guess, and Atlanta paid him a little bit more and just gave him another year, and he fits in the rotation now. Not to spoil it, spoiler alert, that Atlanta has one of the best records in baseball now, thanks to their rotation and everything else, and they, that could be what they need to push them over the top. So
Yeah, and now the
that's a
big
great
rumor
pickup.
is, I guess the big rumor now is that Marcus Stroman might be going to the Yankees, is what I've heard. So
He wants it. It's his hometown. He thinks he can pitch in the big city and be, and he's under control for a few more years. So they dealt with Toronto last year, so maybe they can deal with him again.
yep, and our next show will be after the trading deadline. So it's going to be probably 90% about who went where, why, and how, and all that. So be sure to watch that show coming up the beginning of August or end of July preview show, because that'll be it. The teams are going to be making splashes all throughout. So good call on that, David Kimbrell.
Yep.
I think I think Atlanta now is positioning themselves to be the, in my eyes. Well, we'll talk about it as we go. Let's go ahead and go through the divisions, because I don't want to spoil anything.
Well, let me throw something by you. If we can do a show on July 30th and kind of be the eve before the destruction, that'd be kind of cool. That's a Tuesday. And I know
yeah, we could do that. We could talk about the ones that happened and then do our final predictions on everything. And yeah, sure, we can maybe do that. All right, so let's talk about the month of June 1st to June 30th, 30 days in June, as we all know. Let's talk about the National League East Division. Oh my gosh, we got a lot to talk about in just this one division. You Nat bashers, it's a good thing Ronnie's not here. Uncle Ronnie, we're thinking about you, buddy, and he's taking his vacation. He couldn't make it this week for us, which we understand totally. So we're hoping he's having a good time on his vacation with his wonderful wife and having a good time without us. But we'll get him back on our channel shortly. But Ronnie and David have been bashing the Nats for end of April, end of May. They should get rid of Martinez. They suck. They don't do anything. What was their record at the end of June?
17-8.
I think they were 41-40 or something like that.
I think they were 43-41. They were 2 games above 500 after all that bashing. They were 14, 16 games out at the end of last month, and it was, fire Martinez. The team sucks. He sucks. I haven't heard a word about that. Winning changes attitudes real quick, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Now, you can also talk about the other team in that division who did a 180, and that is the New York Mets, who were playing good, and then the crap hit the fan. And now they have dumped way, way down. Although they were 10-17 in June, which was not a horrible record, they did not. They seem like they're a disarray bunch of redheaded stepchilds right now. It's like nobody wants to be associated with them anymore. So, David, why don't you give us your opinion of the National League East Division? What your thoughts are? National basher you are. Let's hear it.
Well, one of the good things they did was they got rid of Trevor Rosenthal finally, and they picked up Fernando Rodney and AJ Minter, I think it was AJ Minter, used to pitch for the Braves. So that helped their bullpen out quite a bit. They also sent Michael Taylor down and got him some at bats, and they finally got Anibal Sanchez straight. That was the big thing, getting their 4th starter straight. So to me, that was the key to the Nationals. Also, they got a little bit easier schedule too. They started playing some teams they should beat.
Yeah.
like
It's
me,
it's
Detroit.
it's always strange like that when you look back and you go, well, we won 12 out of the last 15. Well, who did you play too? You
Yeah.
know, they played Miami a couple times.
Yep.
They
Spike.
played an American League team too, and I'm trying to remember. They were Detroit. I think it was
Yeah,
Detroit.
Detroit.
Yeah, they were just they got a little cupcake schedule there for a little while, but
Gotta
still,
beat them. Gotta beat them.
you still have to beat them. That's right.
But I think I'm fading in and out on the video here for some reason.
Yeah, you jumped back out for a second. Why don't we go to Mike and let David come back here in a second? Mike, what do you think about the National League East now?
Atlanta has a lot of fun kids to watch with Acuna and Albie Swanson. I picked Washington to be at the end of the year and represent themselves in a National League Championship Series. I won't jump off that bandwagon, but they're fun. They're a fun group of kids out there. Another team that kind of, let me say this, I'll add a little extra to your thing. Another team that kind of fell off the earth, and we could look at it. I mean, again, I talk long-winded sometimes. We could take a look at Machado. We could look at Harper, and I bet they're both having years that are below expectations of all the millions of dollars and all the months they sat waiting to sign. Because Philadelphia went 11-15 last year, and now they're 40. Now they're 44 and 40 also, and starting to drop off.
Yep, that's they were 11-15. Atlanta was 19-8. The Mets were 10-17. Washington 17-8, and Miami, which nobody's giving them any love, they played 12-14, almost 500 baseball. Okay, for a team who everybody says sucks and they're tanking and everything else. How are they winning half their games? And I believe didn't they beat? I believe they beat
The Phillies, like the
they
snot
beat
out
the
of the Phillies.
Phillies. Did they? Who did they? I'm trying to think of who else they played that they beat up on, and I was like totally the Cardinals. They took 2 or 3 from the Cardinals. Yeah, so that division. I mean, you got teams going up and down and each way, but I think the Braves are setting themselves up now. The Braves are going to separate. The other teams just don't look like they're in it to win it right now, but we'll see. I mean, a lot of it's going to happen next month with the trade deadline coming up. Let's talk about.
And I predict the Braves are not done free agent wise either, or trade wise either. I predict they will get Will Smith from the Giants before too long.
Will Smith to the Braves.
He's going to the Braves.
All right, let's talk about the National League Central Division. Milwaukee 13-13, Chicago 14-15, St. Louis 12-13, Pittsburgh 12-14, Cincinnati 11-13.
Look at it again. Pirates went 12-4.
They couldn't have went 12-4.
Well, that would make him 40-43. They went 28-39 in June 1st.
They couldn't have went 12-4. That's only 16 games. You better do your math again.
Oh, okay. Hey, it was early. That was coming off 11-hour shift. So yeah,
I was assuming you missed it.
Yeah. One, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it was 12-14 is what I'm assuming. You missed the one. So every one of those teams played about 500 baseball, but slightly less. Every one of them. But the good thing is nobody's running away with the division. The bad thing is everyone's in it to win it now because they're all stacked up.
The Reds are within 6 also.
What do you think, Mike?
The Reds are within. About to say the Reds are within 6. So they said either there's a lot of parity or the division's not that good. I think Dave said way back in the day. Milwaukee being a Jekyll and Hyde team when they get out of Miller Park and everything else, and the Cubs are coming down to earth. The Cardinals play well, and then they come down to earth. Pirates are playing really good. So, and Josh Bell's having an unbelievable season, MVP type season for the Bucks. Hopefully they'll, I'm really hoping they'll make a race out of this, but we'll see what happens. Pirates don't want to spend money, so I doubt they will. So I don't know if there's gonna be a lot of moving and dealing in that division or not, or it's gonna be a lot of if Theo's gonna work anything, or the Cardinals ownership, or the Brewers will. So it'll be an interesting month to see who wants to win that division, or move it around a little bit.
All right, Dave, what do you think, buddy?
It's a mishmash of everything. I think the team that makes the big splash might do it as far as a trade. And the Cardinals lost their closer, Jordan Hicks, for the year, I believe.
Yes.
So they definitely need to make a trade. So
he had Tommy John surgery, so yes.
I think they need to look north to Toronto at Ken Giles. Toronto's wanting to get rid of him, and he's having a great year. And they got the prospects they can send Toronto. So to me, that's a perfect fit. Send him over, get back in track, closing those games out. And I still think the Cardinals are the team to beat.
I was just going to ask you, the Cardinals were your World Series team, and they have looked. Every team that I've watched this season, I'm trying to keep my voice down because the wife's in the other room, but every team I've watched this season, obviously I watch a lot of Cardinals games, the Cardinals have been the most up and down team I've ever seen. Ever seen. They'll win one game 9-1, and then they'll lose the next two like 8-0. And you just can't, and it's the same lineup.
Well, that was my original World Series team. The Dodgers are my actual team now after we had our update.
Oh, your original.
The Cardinals, when we did it in April, Cardinals were my team. But I think last month we got a second reprieve, or 2 months ago we got a second reprieve. So I went with Houston and the Dodgers as my remake of a World Series from 2017.
All right.
Yeah. I originally had Yankees Cardinals. But
go ahead, Mike.
I'm going to make it just a little point. We're talking about the month of June and what we saw, what we liked. I even turned on my MLB app and watched Albert's first at bat when he came back. That was a wonderful weekend, let me tell you. If you're talking about who has the best fan base in the National League, when it comes to the Yankees and American League, whose fan base in the National League is compared to them, Cardinals fans, there you go. I mean, they welcomed Albert back. He didn't have, he did what he wanted to. He did what he had to do for his family. He signed that big contract with the Angels. He came back. He was still loved. It was like he never left. I hope the Cardinals sign him for a one-day contract, retires, and gets his number retired and goes to Cooperstown as a Cardinal. And bravo. That was a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, it was that was one of the highlights for baseball in the month. There's a lot of really good things. That was one of the best things. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Cardinals fan. The fan support of anybody that much, I've never seen it ever. Now, it's just amazing that when he hit that home run in the visiting stadium and gets a standing ovation, that tells you people don't care about the score; they care about the man, and that's obviously important.
Somehow, I don't think Bryce got that kind of reception in DC.
Yeah, that was a little funny, wasn't it? I was talking about the National League West. Dodgers 17-8, Colorado 14-13, San Diego 12-14, Arizona 14-13, and San Francisco 14-13. American League West, Dave.
You mean National League West?
I'm sorry, National League West. Yes.
It's just the Dodgers front running, and everybody else treading water, trying to fight for a wild card. But I still think if there's one team that comes out, it's probably Colorado. If there's one team that breaks away, I think Colorado might break away a little bit. I think San Diego is next year. I don't think it's this year. I think the year is next year. Although they've got one of the best closers in the game, Kirby Yates. That guy's almost automatic.
That's true. But they could get a lot for him this year because there's going to be a lot of teams looking for him.
Yeah, but they want him for next year to go because they're building for the next couple of years. I'm not sure what his contract is, but he was good last year, and he's really good. That's why they got rid of Brad Hand. So he lived to Cleveland because they knew they had Kirby Yates in their pocket. So.
Yeah. What do you think, Mike?
I've always been on when we were talking before. I I thought the injuries from the Dodgers in April were going to send them back, so I was big on the Colorado bandwagon. I still am. I'm watching the Padres this Thursday. Their minor league team. I think it's a loaded franchise with still a deep farm system. Again, they're not yet team, but they may fight. Like I said, back when in April, they may be fighting for that one of those wild card spots. I mean, no one really wants the wild card spot right now. I mean, I don't have it in front of me. Who are the 2 wild cards currently right now?
I'll tell you in just a second here, buddy. It's going to be.
I'd be Philadelphia and Colorado.
It will be the Cubs and Philadelphia.
So 45 wins.
Sorry. Philadelphia and Colorado are tied, so I don't know what they do for the tiebreaker.
1-game playoff then.
Yeah, it'd be a playoff between Colorado and Philadelphia, but the Cubs would host whoever won that game.
So 45 wins is right now where the plateau is, and the Padres are at 42. They're only 3 back. That's why the second wild card causes interest, and it also takes part of the trading deadline away with teams still in this. I mean, heck, the Diamondbacks are at 43 wins. So
yeah,
I want the Giants. I want the Giants to keep fading, so Bum can say, yeah, I'll pitch for the Yankees for a couple months, but I don't think he wants to. He was on their do not contact me list. So,
well, here is my problem with Colorado and Arizona. I'm going to give you my dilemma. Then you tell me if I'm right or wrong or what you would do about it. If you're Colorado or Arizona at this point, you're screwed. Okay? Because there's no way you're going to win that division. There is no way you're going to take your. I don't care if you trade for 5 players, you're not going to beat the Dodgers. The Dodgers have a 12-game lead already, or 14 if you're Arizona. You're not going to come back from that against the Dodgers, who are an awesome, awesome team. Okay? So what do you do? Do you trade at the deadline all of these good players knowing your only shot is a 1-game playoff? You're trading your future for a 1-game wild card where you're probably going to be on the road. So you're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't. If you're Colorado and Arizona, if you start making trades for that 1 playoff game and you don't win that 1 playoff game, it was all for naught. And you gave away all your future stars and your money, your compensation, your picks, and all that stuff for a 1-game playoff. Arizona and Colorado, I think, are screwed because if they go for it, the best they can do is hope to win a 1-game wild card. And if they don't go for it, then their fan base gets pissed because it's like, why didn't you go for it? We had a chance. What do you guys think about that?
I think they'd be smart to stay in pat myself, because I don't think they can improve their position that much, just like you said.
But is standing pat going to do it when all the other teams, you got St. Louis, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, they're all going to start trading and going for it because they got to. I mean, St. Louis, Chicago, Milwaukee.
Well, they're trying to win divisions.
They're trying to win the division, right? So they got to go for it. But if you're Colorado and you're Arizona, you're screwed because there's no way you're going to win your division. There's no way you're going to beat Los Angeles. So if you go for it, it kind of unfortunately forces Colorado and Arizona to not do anything because the best they can hope for is a 1-game playoff.
Right.
And if you lose that game, then you blow your future on a 1-game wild card, which doesn't make any sense.
Like that.
What do you think, Mike?
I mean, they can make a minor deal, but they can't trade away their future.
No, and they just signed Ariano for long-term stories. They like Blackman's one of those dead ball type guys. McNasty. He's just I like him, good ball player. They got a lot of offensive talent in that team. The question is, they're how many games back? They're 13 back in their division still, and even getting what's the best their wild card's going to get them? It's going to get them a 5-game series with the Dodgers. It gets them 2 home games and probably get knocked out. So, yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? The problem is that means Atlanta and the Cubs are probably going to play in the other one, and that would be a lot of fun. So,
Yeah, I I think that's kind of where Tampa. Well, we're going to talk about the American League now, but I think that's kind of where Tampa Bay's been. Every year, it's like, damn, if I go for it, what do I get? I get a wild card game, maybe at home, maybe not, and I'm going to screw up the next year or next 2 years, the next 3 years of our club trying to go for this one playoff game, and that's just it just makes it so hard and challenging to for teams that are like on that cusp, but they just can't win the division, and if they know they're not going to win the division, then they really are stuck. Is my opinion, but
The AL is very top heavy. So even the two teams that don't be the number one seed, I hate to be the 2 and 3 in that American League. If it ends up being Minnesota and Houston or Minnesota, who that number one seed will play a lot. I mean, again, the wild card game, but I don't want to be the 2 and 3 and have to get Verlander for a 5-game series, or maybe that Minnesota offense keeps chugging along. For the Yankees, I hope they full speed ahead and trying to get these wins and keep winning, because in the National League there's the Dodgers and there's everyone else. In the AL, it's very top heavy, top 3, and you want to be in that top seed. You don't want to be in that 5-game series in a 2-3 matchup, because I think Minnesota will be in the short end of the stick, in my opinion.
well, let's talk about the American League, specifically the American League East. Yankees 16-9. Tampa Bay 14-15, even though they had a really rough patch there where they lost like 5 out of 6. Boston 15-11. Toronto 11-16, and Baltimore 6-20. See, that's where I see the difference between Baltimore and Miami. Miami's going 14-14. Baltimore's going 6-20. What does it tell you about Baltimore?
Just how bad they are.
I mean, are they really that bad, or are they just
they're playing some really good teams too. So,
that's true.
You got to play the Yankees 18 times, the Red Sox 18 times,
But
Tampa 18 times.
I think of their 6 wins, 1 was against the Yankees and 2 was against Boston.
Well, they beat the snot out of Cleveland 2 games in a row, 13-0 twice.
Yes, I saw that on the. I saw that, but I saw something that was the first time in Major League Baseball history ever that a team beat another team 13-0 2 days in a row, and it happened to be the 20-38 Baltimore Orioles.
And then the third game, Cleveland came back and shut them out 2-0. I think it was.
Yeah.
So they flipped the switch on that one.
All right,
I think Tampa needs to stay pat myself, because I think they've got the first wild card locked, in my opinion.
Okay, well, give me your.
I don't know about that. Actually, they don't have the best record. Actually, ID's team from last month, when I looked at this, went, "Oh my God, that son of a gun was right all the time."
I'm always right. You should know that by now.
No, you're not. But then this month, I had a smile when I said, "Wow, they're that good, huh?"
They always.
That's spoiler alert. But go ahead.
So, David, give us your rundown. American League East.
Well, like I said, I think Tampa Bay can stay pat, because they're going to need to get the first or second wild. They're going to be in the wild card. I think that's a pretty safe bet. I don't think either Boston or Texas both are going to pass them, or Cleveland. I think they've got enough pitching to be able to take care of that. Texas is going to fade. I'm not worried about Texas one bit. In fact, I think they're going to finish third behind Oakland. You heard it here. Texas is going to fade in the summer heat, wilt in the summer heat like a wilted flower. The pitcher's going to go tank in that heat. It always does every year. So I'm not worried about them.
Okay, so it's Tampa.
Oakland's a bigger worry to me than Texas is in the long run.
Tampa and who then?
I think it's either going to be Tampa. Well, actually, like I was telling you off camera, I think Cleveland's got the inside track, because they got such an easy schedule the rest of the way. They get to play all these games with Detroit and Chicago and Kansas City, while Boston has to play Tampa Bay and the Yankees, and Oakland has to play Texas and Houston and all these other teams.
All right, Mike.
So if I had to guess right now, I'd say Cleveland's going to be at Tampa in the wild card game.
All right, Mike. What is your intake of the American League East?
Okay, American League East. Okay, I have opinions, but we'll wait. We'll wait till we get to the Central and West and kind of look at wild cards then on everything. Because I'm kind of going, I don't know about that, but we'll wait. Well, it's the Yankees division to win right now. They're 54 and 28 ish. They're on a great set of games. They haven't had everyone healthy. All of a sudden, they thought they had everyone healthy. They just put Voit on the 10-day DL. Now they have Stanton's on the looks like a 30-day DL. So here we go again. So next man up, and let's try it again, I guess. But they need Cashman. I'm going to talk about something for a second. It's something we haven't talked about or anything. Yankees just international free agency today, signed the young 16-year-old kid, and all the reports say he could be the next Mike Trout, if not better. His name is Jason with 2 S's Dominguez. Father named him Jason because of Jason Giambi. So his father was a huge Yankee fan. He's an international superstar, number 1 international free agent in the MLB pipeline. So again, keep an eye on that. He's only 16. He can't debut this year, but he's going to be ready to go full tilt probably next year when he's. I don't know how that works, but he'll be ready to go. He'll be ready to go next year where they put him. He's going to he'll make a speed line through the majors, unless he seems to be the type. The kid they say right now has that. I hate to say this, put anything on him, but Mantle type, Trout type stuff. This kid's supposed to be 5-tool all the way down the line. So again, that says a lot. I mean, come back 5 years from now, this kid could be in the farm somewhere, literally on the farm picking potatoes. But I was just reading a story about him last night, and I was amazed by it. Okay, with that said and done, Yankees again. I think you saw Boston's problem this weekend, and it found them. Like Al's been saying all this time, and Ron, they have no bullpen. I think Boston's going to fade. I don't know. Tampa Bay better run for they better play hard. Cleveland, Texas, and Oakland are going to make this a 4-team pile up on the highway and trying to get to that finish line. And as it's going to be a 4-team pile up for 2 spots. So I don't know if Tampa Bay is going to be able to stay in it or not, to be honest. That's all right.
Well, that's coming strong, which I love from both of you guys. So that's why you're here.
Hey, ID.
Yes, sir.
One quick thing about it's good to get excited about a 16-year-old with 5 tools and everything, but I had a flashback to the movie Moneyball. If you remember that.
I never seen it.
You never saw Moneyball?
Wow, it's awesome movie.
About their cheap ways of doing everything. No. Well, the guy in Moneyball, the GM, he was a 5-tool guy too, and he got a big contract from the Mets, but that didn't work out so well. So just because you got the tools, you're a prospect, you're a suspect until you do something. So
yeah, well,
especially that young.
Here's what Mike failed to inform everyone: this kid better make it. Because the Yankees, because they're over the luxury tax, only get $5.5 million in international signing bonus. They spent on this kid $5.1 million, which means they only have $400,000 left to sign international free agents. So this kid better be the one, which the Yankees obviously think he is, or they wouldn't have spent all that money on him.
They signed another kid that's supposed to be a pretty darn good outfielder named Diaz, too, that I was reading, too.
Well, they can also trade. Sometimes in trades, they acquire international signing money as well.
And they did. The Yankees did make some trades this past offseason where they actually traded for international slot money.
So, yeah, I mean, until they start making it through, they're just a prospect. So, I mean, everyone coming up has wishes and desires to be. Now, maybe this kid's got the skills and he can do it. Now, let's hope he can. I mean, I root for everyone. It's all up to him, and I just, I see what happens in these free agencies, and I say, oh, I watch how they put all these monies in these, Bryce Harper and Manny Machado were the two big free agents signings in the offseason.
Wow.
We can all agree to that.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of them made the All-Star team. What does that
There you
tell
go.
you? What
Hello,
does
Rob.
that tell you? So,
And I could make a case the two best free agent signings that turned out were Mickey Brantley and DJ LeMahieu.
Brantley was a great signing. Absolutely.
And the Yankees are extremely glad they got LeMahieu too.
And LeMahieu has been more than rock solid for the Yankees. I mean,
they cost a lot less.
And a lot less money. And yes, exactly. All right, let's move on, shall we? All right, let's talk about Central Minnesota, 14-12 in June. Cleveland, 16-9. We'll talk about that. Chicago, 11-12. Detroit, 5-19. Kansas City, 10-17. So the two things that stand out to me, Cleveland and Detroit. Detroit was 21-31 going into this, right? So they weren't great, but they were hanging in there. Then they take a dive and go 5-19 in June. What the hell happened to Detroit? Because
I think
remember,
reality set in.
well, remember what we talked about in April and May, and it's so fun. It's I rated it as an A baseball season so far because all these teams that were supposed to be crap were putting up a good fight, and they were doing all these good things. Now what happened? Okay, last month I rated it as a C, right? Because all these teams that were started doing really good are now like not doing very good. I don't know if they stopped playing because they're down by 10 games or whatever. But anyways, the other thing was Cleveland 16-9, good June. Problem is there's still 8 games out. What do you think of the Central Division there, Mr. Mike?
Good. I'm glad he came to me first about this. I'm going to say this. I think now it's time for the Twins for the cream to finally rise to the top. Yeah, they're going to get the White Sox, the Tigers, and the Royals now, but I think Twins are going to have to. They still got to play the Yankees some. They still got to play some other teams well. They played against the Red Sox. It'll be the Red Sox. Took 2 out of 3 from them. Cleveland, I think Minnesota and Cleveland. I think, like I said, like I've been saying the last couple of months, my sleeper team's always been the White Sox. Giolito's having a great year for them, but it's not their time yet. Like the Padres, it's going to be a year or two, but I think it's going to be a remaining Minnesota-Cleveland 2-dog race, and Minnesota better keep putting the foot to the metal and win as many games as they can. So they haven't won this yet.
All right, Dave, what do you take out of the American League Central?
Well, I slightly disagree. I think Minnesota has won it already, but Cleveland is making a strong case for the wild card the way they're playing, but I don't think they're going to catch Minnesota. I don't think they have quite the offense to get it done. Got some good pitching, but they just have trouble scoring runs.
Are they going to stay in it till the end?
They'll be at the end because they get to play Kansas City and Detroit and Chicago multiple times, while these other wild card contenders have to play the Yankees, the Red Sox, Houston, Texas, and Oakland.
Are they going
So the unbalanced schedule is very unfair to wild card teams.
Oh, it can be. It can work to advantage or disadvantage depending on what your other teams in your division are doing.
Right. But in this year, it's an advantage for Cleveland because the Central is so weak.
Right. And in other years when Toronto and Baltimore and Tampa Bay suck,
yeah, then it helps Boston and the Yankees.
Then it helps Boston and the Yankees become the wild card team. So,
exactly.
I mean, it kind of, I think it all evens out in the long run. Some years your division's going to be higher or lower or whatever. I mean, but I think because of that, I kind of agree with what you said. I hadn't thought of that, but Cleveland does have a good chance, at least keeping it closer and at least keeping that wild card within grasp. Because
don't be 100% surprised if Mr. Bumgarner doesn't end up in Minnesota.
They talked about that on the radio a couple weeks ago. They talked about
Minnesota and San Francisco have made trades before, and Minnesota has the prospects.
That's good to know. we'll have to put out our predictions on.
Not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it's a strong possibility.
Strong possibility. All right. All righty. Well, let's. We do have some new people in the chat. MP Fox, I haven't said hello to him. DJ John 4444. TriFan 879. Of course, TriFan is enjoying all this. Clinton Parks, of course. Uncle Clinton is out there knocking guys out of our chat, which is good. Which
Oh, and tell Clinton he was right.
no, I was not gonna mention that Clinton was right because his head is like this big already. Okay, we don't need to do that.
We don't tell
okay?
Clinton he's right. Okay.
Never tell Clinton he's right about anything.
Okay.
All right, American League West. Oh boy, Houston 14-12. Texas, people 17-11. Best June in the American League, 17-11. Oakland 17-10, not as good.
17-10 is better than 17.
You're right. You're actually right. 17-10 is quite a little bit
I'm
better.
always right, like you say.
No. Los Angeles 14-13 and Seattle 12-15. What do we make of the West? Is this going to be a wild shootout in the Wild Wild West, David?
It's going to be a wild shootout in the wild. Well, I think the Angels will fade a little bit. I think it's basically a two-team race to get the wild cards. I think Houston's already wrapped up the division. It's just a matter of whether Oakland or Texas, and my prediction is Oakland's going to rise above that. I think they get a little bit better pitching, and I think in the heat, Texas will fold. Don't be surprised if they go 11-17 in July.
After last month when I mentioned Texas here, right, and you were the hater of the Texas Rangers then, just like you're the Nationals haters in the National League, you're going to be the Texas American League is going to be your Texas. You're going to be the Texas hater in the American League, right?
I guess you want to call it that. Yeah, I'm not a believer.
You're not a believer.
Same thing wrong with Texas is wrong with Colorado. No pitch. I mean, the pitching's not going to hold up. That's the only problem. They got the bats, but the pitching's not going to hold up.
All right, Mike, what do you think? American League West.
I picked the A's, and I picked the A's in the beginning here to make the playoffs. I'm not jumping off the bandwagon too. I thought they had enough talent. I was very unhappy to hear about my guy Frankie Monez to get an 80-game suspension and pretty much end his MLB season. He's on my strat league team, and I guess dummy did some PDEs, and he's lost so a lot of those wins that month was him. So let's see how that's going to affect them, if they have enough pitching to hold them through this. But you know what? Texas is within 6. Let's see if July and what Texas ownership wants, and see if they will possibly play for the division. I mean, like you said, are they the Colorado of the West? Are they going to get rid of assets to try to win this division, or are they just going to try to play for the wild card and see what happens? They're probably better off playing as is, play the best they can, and try for that 1-game wild card. I think Cream will probably will eventually rise to the top, and Houston will probably pull it out at the end. But it'll still be close at the end when we talk next.
Yeah, I'm always rooting for the underdog. You know how I am. I didn't see Texas last month, and they kind of came out of nowhere. And at the end of May, we had to say it was Tampa Bay hosting Texas, and at the end of June, we're once again saying Tampa Bay hosting Texas in the wild card game. So Cleveland, your Cleveland lovers, your Boston lovers. Now it's been several months now. It's not just 1 month where they had a really good month and they don't have anything else to show for it.
Yeah, but at the end of July, it will be Cleveland. It will be Tampa Bay hosting Cleveland. Will be the scheduled wild card.
Well, we will see. We all have
Cleveland. If you look at Cleveland's July schedule after the All-Star break, they get like Detroit 8 times, Kansas City 3 or 4 times. I mean, they're just going to roll.
Well, right now they're run differential for Cleveland is 0. So they scored as many runs as they've given up.
That'll change real quick.
Texas is plus 36. So I think the offense for Texas, hopefully it'll stay as hot as it is. And, even if they're pitching melts, as you say, in the summer heat, hopefully their offense can keep it going. But there was who was it that got hurt on Texas like a week
Gallows.
ago? Who
Probably
was it?
Gallows. Probably
Joey
Gallows
Gallo.
because he's out of the All-Star game right now. So
Yeah, which is a real bummer. And also speaking of the West Division, I think we should just say, of course, we got to talk about Los Angeles Angels and Tyler Skaggs. So if you guys are not following baseball or hadn't heard the news, I know you guys have, but I'm talking about to the live chat. Tyler Skaggs, pitcher for the Los Angeles Angels, passed away yesterday at the age of 27. So for the sports gaming community out there, for all of us and the friends of the channel, we're severely heartbroken over the news. It's always a shame to hear when you hear of something like this to somebody so young and talented. I remember watching the game on Sunday night or Saturday night when he pitched. I was up late Saturday night and waiting for Al to run his live stream, and he wasn't running it. So I was flipping through the channels, and he had that big kind of new looking mitt, and that's what kind of stuck in my mind when I was watching the game. Was I was like, damn, look at that mitt, it's huge. So I was watching that game, and then like to find out the next couple of days he had passed away. Now we don't have any news on what had happened. They were supposed to do an announcement today at 7:30 our time, but we were already running live. So, anyways, if you guys have any comments or thoughts, feel free to share. Mike, Dave.
yeah, being here at home of the AAA franchise. Yeah, I don't know if they canceled their game last night. They were in Tacoma last night. I hadn't had a chance to. My wife and I were talking about it. I was laying there, kind of resting, and my wife was looking at stuff, and she doesn't usually notice stuff. She goes, "Hey, the guy in the Angels died." I said, "Who?" And she was telling me, and she was reading me a story, and all the different stories are out there, and that's really really tough. I mean, I am home with the Major League Angel franchise here, and it's yeah, it's been kind of been tough news about that. I'm expecting when we go to the game Thursday night that they'll probably do an announcement on him and probably have a patch on or something like that and do a whole thing. So hopefully maybe I can get some recordings of that for you guys. But I have a feeling they're going to do something that night. So that's their
Yeah,
first game. That's their first home game back.
that'd be cool if you could do that and share with us. That'd be real special. Dave, you got any thoughts about it? I mean, we don't know him, but I mean, do you have any remembrances of anything? Or Dave? I think Dave froze up. Yep, he did. He froze up. I think he'll join us back in just a minute. We'll give Dave a minute to come back. Yeah, so I mean, I would have liked to know more news about it, but we're already scheduled to do this tonight, so we'll catch up on it. It's always, I didn't realize that there was an article that I was reading today that this was like the seventh player that the Angels have had a current player that had died on them. They had just in between last year and this year in the off season, they had Luis Valbuena, their second baseman, died in Venezuela.
Yeah, died in
Died in a car crash. I completely forgot about that.
and then they had
And then
they had the other pitcher who just died maybe a year or so ago. Who I remember seeing that on ESPN also.
Yep, and they had
The Lyman Bostock shooting from back in 77, 78.
yeah. And then they had the bus crash after they played the Yankees one, and they were headed to Baltimore, and they had a bus crash, and a whole bunch of their players got injured, and the coaching staff had multiple fractures and all that stuff. So they've had a lot of bad things happen to them. And for being the Angels, you would think, you would have all the good luck on your side, not all the bad luck. So, anyways, I don't mean to make light of the situation, but it's just, it's always terrible to hear. All right, we're gonna talk. Anything else you want to talk about? But before we get to the all-star lineups that we have chosen.
We can go on to that and talk about it. What we remember, kind of, I don't know on how often you've been watching the All-Star game for, but some memories for me have always stood out for me. So,
all right, so we'll go by position, I guess. It's just kind of the best way to do it, I think. All right. Oh, hang on a second. I've lost my feed here. All right. So let's talk about National League players. Catcher. You want to go by position? Is that all right?
Yeah, that's good. We can do that.
All right. Let's see if David has popped in on the chat to let us know what's going on. It doesn't look like it, but
He's serious.
oh, he's back. All right.
I'm here.
All right.
Sorry. Had a battery phone. I had to restart my phone.
It's okay. So before we start,
I'm back.
Are you there?
I'm here. I can't see me. Can you hear me?
You're frozen when you go to talk. So
Let's see if I can find something. Come on. My phone's at like 1% battery, so I'm hoping it stays alive with me. Here we go. How about now?
There you go. There you go.
Okay.
All right. What do you think?
Right.
Before we start our all-star picks, is there anything else you want to mention? Talk about the season.
So all you do is cover the American League West. Is that what I missed, basically?
Yeah, we kind of just talked about that, and then we talked about Tyler Skaggs. And
right. I remember that's when we left. That's when I cut off. Is when you were talking about that.
Okay. So
talking about. Did they ever find? So they haven't found cause of death or anything yet, right?
They were supposed to put out something tonight, but I haven't seen anything yet because of this. But
yeah, we can go on to the all-star picks if you want.
All right. Is there anything you want to specifically talk about or say about the season or anything? Players, teams, likes, dislikes, thoughts, views. Before we do that,
it's my same old broken record. I just like all the strikeouts and the home runs. I like more when people put the ball in play, and with 2 strikes, they put the ball in play. The other thing I'm disappointed with is the umpiring. I think the umpiring has just gotten worse and worse and worse, and they really need to do. They're going to have to go to automated strike zone.
I was just going to say I've been meaning to bring this up, and I don't think I have with you guys, but I've been meaning to bring it up. They've been talking about this automated strike zone for ever since like the off season, and it's been pushing harder and harder and harder for it. What do you guys think? There are 2 solutions to this baseball from the commissioners. The 2 solutions they have are implement the automated strike zone and then put the DH in both leagues. That's their 2 answers to the problems, what they classify as the problems of baseball. What do you guys? I mean, what is your guys' thoughts on that?
I'm an AL guy, so I'm all for the DH. First DH was the Yankees, so you want to ask me where I stand there? I know I make a lot of people upset with it, but I've always been an offensive guy first, and with an extra player and everything else. And as for automated strike zone, that's like start the 12th inning and putting a runner on second, saying go ahead. That's international rules, and I hope we don't get to that point. But I don't know what else to do. So to be honest, I don't know how they're going to improve it. They can fire some of these idiots, so we don't have maybe Joe West needs to have his early retirement along with Buckner and whoever else who are highly objective, as Dave would say in History Maker. But I'm not sure what else to do. I don't really want to see it. It's not baseball to me. If you're going to do that, you're going to get real close to having top of the 12th inning, runner on second base as we start extra innings. Here we go, new extra inning rule. They're gonna do something else to hurt baseball. I don't want to see it happen.
All right, Dave, what do you think? Two things about baseball: automated rules, or automated strike zone, and implementing DH for both leagues. What do you think?
But I am a National League traditionalist, so the DH thing is definitely not in my DNA. I actually like the fact that both leagues have a different setup. It makes it interesting. That way, if you're a DH fan, you can watch American League. If you're more traditional, you can watch National League. You have options. And as far as automated strike zone, they have to do something. I mean, we've already got instant replay in the game now, so that's already changed the game. So I'd much rather have a strike zone that's accurate than have these jokers out there calling pitches in the dirt or 3 inches outside as strikes, or not calling strikes at the letters when they really are strikes. The strike zone I grew up was the armpits to the knees, and somehow it's shrunken from the waist to the thighs or something. It's amazing how pitchers don't walk more people because the strike zone's so outlandish. And yeah, the Angel Hernandezes and the Joe West and the CB Buckner, they need to get rid of those jokers too. Put some standards in there.
All right. So let's hear my point of view now. Here's what I think. This is going to probably rattle some feathers as usual, right? Automated strike zones. I don't think we need the automated strike zones yet. All right, but they need to change how they do the umpiring in the game. Okay, to be your home plate umpire, you rotate every fourth day to be to that position. Next day you'll be at first base and second base and third base and blah blah blah. Right. So why do they do that? Why do they take all the umpires and make them become home plate? I guess to make it fair or whatever like that, right? Well, we know that's not the case because we've seen this year after year after year. The umpires, some of them have smaller strike zones, some of them have bigger strike zones, some of them, let players get away with more, or not get away with as much. Everybody has their own way, their own personality of doing it. Okay, the problem that's hurting the game is you take a person, any player or person that's doing their job, and they only do it once every 4 days. They're not going to be as good at it unless they're doing it every single day. I think you take the umpires and you assign each of them a position. You say you're the home plate umpire, you're the first base umpire, you're the second base umpire, you're the third base umpire. And that's the position they stay at all year long. Okay? They get better at their job because they do it every single day.
That's right.
Okay? And then you find out, okay, if there's still a problem before you go to the automated strike zone. Because I don't think you add something in that doesn't need to be there when you can just simply fix the rules by changing the silly way you've been doing it all these years. What do you guys think about that?
Go ahead, Mike.
I'm 150% applaud you on that. I think that is a wonderful idea. I know there's umpiring strikes out there. Can you see me?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, I guess I'm just looking at David. Okay, yeah, I 150% agree with you. There are umpiring. Surprisingly, the sabermetrics, there are umpiring stats out there that Joe Torre and the competition committee looks at, which means they can go ahead next year and goes, okay, who are our place home plate umpires? They're going to be our crew chiefs for every series. They don't move. Okay, who's our best first base umpire? Who do we like there? And then we put the schleps like the CB Buckners and stuff like that at second and third, and where they're not going to cause harm, not going to cause problems every game. Let's put people who actually the players like out there who has a strike zone, who are not going to be like when you watch a game on TV and go, well, that was off and you called it a strike, or well, that was off, you called it a ball. I don't want to see a World Series end because of a bad call. You're going to have another Deginger happen if it happens. Back in '85 with the Cardinals and the Royals, but it's it's going to happen. ID, you're right. If you don't do it, something really bad will happen before something good will happen. I love the idea. I think the competition committee can easily, in the off season, look at their stats and go, okay, who calls the most bounce? They have these stats. I've heard it. Put your best umpire, make a new crew. These are your chiefs. These guys get paid more. Then you put the guys at first base because you need somebody good over there, and then you put the schlep rocks at second and third, who's not going to hurt you. And then you have your 4 umpires. Absolutely agree, because that would be, to me, what you should do instead of the automated stuff.
Yeah, and I think even
part on it.
And even to go a step further, as I said, you assign them their positions, right? And you pay the umpire who is the umpire, you pay them more. So all the umpires want to become the home plate umpire, right? Because you get paid more to be the home plate umpire. X amount of dollars per game. At the end of the season, you need to say you need a 95% score or higher, or next year you're out. It's as simple as that. And we'll replace you with somebody else who wants to be an umpire. So you just do it, and if they don't grade out to a 95%, boom, they're out. You move the next guy in, and then you go through it. You use that guy for the next season, and it's going to take a couple years, but all of a sudden you're going to weed out all the guys that are really crappy at their job. What do you think, David?
Well, unfortunately, I think I'm zooming in and out on the picture-wise, but hopefully you can still hear me anyway.
Yep, we hear you.
Can you guys, okay? Can you hear me okay?
Yep,
Yeah,
we hear you fine.
As soon as you mentioned about the have one home plate umpire, have a first base umpire, I thought of football. I mean, in football, when you see a officiating crew in football, it's not like week 1 the guy's a referee and week 3 he's a line judge. The referee is the referee all year long. Mm-hmm. The line judge is the line judge all year long. It's like Orville Redenbacher's strategy: pick one thing and do it well. So I totally agree with that. Now, the only thing is you're going to have a whole lot of home plate umpires, because I imagine in a 4-game series, especially in the summertime, those guys are going to get tired. And so I think it's why they rotate now, is to give them a break because it's hot back there behind home plate in the summertime. So I guess they're trying to give those guys a break. But my fix to that is get younger umpires that are in better shape. Well, you got a lot of fat old guys out there right now umpiring that probably need to retire 20 years ago.
It's not like they're wearing the big home plate vest anymore. So
right.
Okay, here's and if you guys haven't seen it yet, go check out Rob Explanation Point. He did his "What's Wrong with NASCAR" video. I think it was yesterday morning or the morning before that. Just a couple of days ago, and basically talked about all the problems in NASCAR and the easiest ways to fix the problems. And that's what I'm doing here for you guys in baseball. It's not that complex, okay?
Nope.
Baseball is a $10 billion industry. $10 billion industry. Are you telling me we can't hire another 40 umpires so we can have 2 crews? Give them a day on and a day off. A day on and a day off. A day on and a day off. Are you telling me in our $10 billion industry we can't hire another 40 umpires to umpire games and give each crew a day on and a day off, just like the players? That's just crazy. I mean, does that not make sense?
Makes sense to me. And Dave makes
sense.
If
it makes sense, that means baseball won't do it.
I mean, the simple things to fix. They want to. Let's implement the the DH in both areas and implement electronic strike zones. You don't need to do that to fix the problem. And that's what Rob was saying. To fix NASCAR, you don't need to add all these different things. You need to simplify and just do the common sense thing. Why they don't go, we have 40 umpiring crews or 30 umpiring crews now. We're going to have 60 umpiring crews, and you're going to do one game, and then you're going to have a day off, and then you're going to do another game, and then you're going to have a day off, and then you're going to have a done game, and then you have a day off, or whatever, maybe do 2 days on, 1 day off, like a fireman or whatever you want to do to make it fair. And then you got plenty of time off for all these crews. If you have your umpire, they have to grade out. Each position has to grade out too. It's not just the umpire. At first base, okay, they wanted to go to instant replay because the first baseman was always making the wrong call, whether he was safe or out, right? Well, they grade them every year at the end of the season. You need to have 95% right. If you're not 95% right, you're out. It's as simple as that. We'll get somebody else in here that can do the damn job. It's not that hard. It's not that complex. You don't even need instant replay when you have your professionals being professional, doing a professional job. How hard is that? It's not that hard to complex. Let's talk about All-Star Game. Shall we do that? We got off on a rant and we got off on a tangent. Now you got me all riled up. Let's talk about National League catcher. David, are you still with us, brother? All right. Well, Mike, who do you got for your National League catcher?
I believe I was looking. I'm trying to do this and not see who the actual votes went to, but I know Contreras is having a good year for National League, but you know what? I think Grandal may actually deserve this over Contreras, in my opinion. He's a Brewer catcher. It's 6.5, one half dozen the other. Both teams are competitive in the division, but I think Grandal is having a fantastic year. His OPS is over 900 also, along with Contreras.
Yep, I agree. And me and David were talking about this before you joined us, so I'll ask your opinion of this, okay, Mike? Because you had not heard what me and David had talked about. We were talking about the fact that this year's has 31 players that are in their first All-Star game, which means none of the veterans are getting any love anymore. It's not about, oh, I like this player, we're going to put him in because we like how he plays. Like Derek Jeter every year got in because everyone knew his name and they wanted him in the All-Star game. It seems like nowadays it's all about the stats and the cybernetics, where they understand everything. They got it all figured out. And this year, above every other All-Star game, it's all about who's got the numbers to back that up. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. That's where it should be. There's too many All-Star games where you look at a guy going, you're only there because of reputation. I mean, Reggie made it hitting 220 every year for how many All-Star games? He probably didn't belong in there, every single year. I mean, I was afraid Judge was going to get a final vote and get in for the American League. I kind of would have been appalled by that. He played only 30 games, and he was actually considered still getting a high majority of the votes for the outfielder. There's not a lot of good outfielders either. I'm not sold. I mean, we're not there yet, but I'm not sold on Brantley being in the outfield either. But if you look at AL outfielders, there's not a lot of good outfielders. So it's like, okay, I'll get to that. But yeah, I totally agree. It's all about this final vote they're doing now, and then the take the three, and then doing the vote. I guess that's a pretty good idea. I mean, I'm used to the whole fan ballot, and then the manager picks the starters, and here we go. So I've been watching All-Star Game for years. I've always enjoyed it. People don't like it. It's one of the things I enjoy every year if I'm able to watch it.
Okay, so what is your definition of an all-star? What puts you on the all-star team? Is it just stats and numbers, or is it what you contribute to the team, or is it your whole package, your veteran leadership and all, how important you are, how many clutch hits you got? So what is the definition for you of an all-star?
Well, again, I've been watching it for years. I want to see the best player with the best stats, at every position. For a long time there, we're watching the Dodgers of the National League be the All-Star team. It was, Garvey, Lopes, Russell, and Say basically get all the top votes because the Dodgers would draw 45 to 50,000 a home game, and you get 45 to 50,000 home votes. These teams who have really some of the best players, if the Phillies don't have a good weekend, you're not going to see Boa. You may not see Schmitz or somebody else out there. But luckily they changed that a little bit, and I think that's for the good. I think it makes it better. I think maybe they should go to a peer vote too. You know, guys who are maybe retiring have already said they're going to be leaving. Wouldn't mind seeing having an extra spot for them to say goodbye to, like the CC Sabathias or the Alberts if he was planning on retiring this year type thing. You know, give him a swan song, give him an at bat type thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there should be at least one in each league, possibly even two in each league. That is just like you said, kind of a sentimental, fan favorite or whatever you want to, player favorite. Maybe you have the players vote for it or whatever. Or maybe just the commissioner decides these are the four, the two players from each league I'm taking to the All-Star game and make them the commissioner's finest or whatever you want to call them. And then, like you said, if Albert Pujols was retiring or, anyone, that, made a great contribution, but just wasn't playing like Ichiro. The last couple seasons, he was way down to what he just wasn't up to his caliber. But that would be a perfect example of somebody that, hey, let's have him on the All-Star team because he's not going to be around much longer, and we just need to let him, let the fans see him and thank him for all he's done for the game. So the reason I bring all this up is because we're talking about National League catchers, all right? So, if it's all about the stats and the numbers, right, I have a problem with that, and I'll tell you why, okay? Yadier Molina this season, right, everyone knows if you look at his Stratomatic card, right, if you look at his Stratomatic card, he's -3 to run on, right? You're not going to run on him. So players don't run on him. So he doesn't get the stolen base. He doesn't get the stat of, he's thrown out 25 players because nobody runs on him, right? So if it's all on the numbers, you don't take in all these other values for the veteran players because everybody that's been in the league more than 2 years knows I'm not running on Yadier Molina unless I get a really, really good jump or I'm really, really fast, right? Everyone knows that. So he doesn't get the stats. So that hurts him when he goes up against Contreras. If I'm going to look at a team, right, if you're telling me, I'm starting a brand new team, it's going to be the Montreal Expos next year. I'm going to start a new team, and I've got free agents of Yadier Molina or Contreras. Who are you going to take?
Contreras, maybe he's younger because I guess Yachty's not that old, but it seems like he's been around for a long time, hasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he's been around since 2000 and.
He came in when they knocked out the Mets that one year.
Yeah, I mean, he's been around, but I mean, I guess my issue I have with the fact that it's all about the numbers is the fact that you can't take in all the intangibles of a player. And this shows up in the National League. If you look at who actually made the All-Star team, right? You have Contreras, you have Grandal, and you have Rio Muto, which all are really good catchers, right? But they don't even talk about Yadier Molina anymore. But nobody runs on Yadier Molina, right? Nobody runs on him because he's still one of the best damn catchers in the league. So I guess my point is, if you're going to take it on just the numbers, you're going to hurt some of the players that are still really, really good, right? But with that said, you're going to take Contreras. I don't think Contreras is as good. I'm going to give it, or you're going to take Grandal. Sorry, you're going to take Grandal. I agree with you. I think Grandal is actually having a better season. Let's move on to first base, and there's a lot of good choices at first base too. A lot of good choices.
And the funny thing is, the one big free agent's not one of them. He's not there either. Goldschmidt is having a below average year for your Cardinals. And I thought he'd be having a better year, to be honest.
Yep. So who do you have, or do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
All right. So for me, it came down to 3. It came down to Freeman, Alonso, and Josh Bell. I think these are the 3 that are best. But when you're talking about All-Star, right? For me, All-Star is somebody that is doing something amazing for their team. Somebody that's shining above the rest. If you look at those 3, I love Freddie Freeman. He is like one of my favorite players in baseball right now. But if I had a choice of the all-star, I'm going to say it's Pete Alonso for what he's doing. He has set the Mets home run rookie record. He's hit more than Darryl Strawberry as a rookie, and we are only in the end of June. I can imagine what he's going to be like at the end of the season. He's going to have a beast of a Stratomatic card. So I'm going to take Pete Alonso just because of the aura and the presence that he demands.
Yeah, he's halfway to Judge's record. I mean, Judge hit 50 something. He broke McGuire's record in 1987. So that'll be interesting to see if another New Yorker beats Judge's single season MLB rookie record. I was right on you in the beginning there. I think Freeman is the overall better player. I think he gets it by reputation. I think Freeman would be my choice. I think when he's in there, he's one of those cogs the Braves can't lose. They could probably win if Acuna's not there. They got some guys that they probably can't win without. If Freeman gets hurt again, you can check their stats over the last couple of years. He's one of those irreplaceable players on their team. And I think if he's having one of those, great years again, 9-something OPS. I mean, he's right there with Alonso, and Bell's over 1,000, but I don't think he deserves to be an all-star. I mean, a starter.
Yeah.
It's American League ballpark. We're gonna have a DH, thank God. In this, I hate seeing pitchers bat in the All-Star game. It's just another way for pinch hitters to bat. So why you just have a DH makes it simpler.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, they should always do that because, I mean, let's just say a ball slips out of a pitcher's hand and clubs accidentally. Of course, they're not going to throw at him, but throwing a curveball, it gets away from him, hits the pitcher in the head. He's going to be out for a couple weeks. Then all of a sudden, it's like, damn, you knock Creighton Kershaw out for a couple more weeks, or whoever it happens to be, and that can have detrimental effect on a team that's trying to make the playoffs or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, last year was. I mean, people argue about Major League. I mean, pitchers can hit. Pitchers are athletes. That was the thing last year with Tanaka and his series against the Mets. He was running the bases and he pulled something coming home. I still think of Chin Meng Wang, who was a great pitcher for the Yankees when they were not good, and he tore something when he was running home against the Astros, and he was never the same. So. And that was interleague series against Houston.
Okay.
And here comes Mr. Purist, and here comes Mr. Purist himself.
I'm sorry about that.
Hey, all right. Hey, Dave, just to catch you up, we did National League catchers and first base. So why don't you catch us up?
That's it? Just those two?
Just those two.
Okay.
I can't get them to shut up long enough to move on.
Thanks.
Okay, well, obviously, I didn't hear what you guys were doing because I was offline. But just National League, right?
Yes, sir. Just National League.
Right. My National League catcher is Contreras from the Cubs.
All right.
And my National League first baseman is Josh Bell from Pittsburgh.
All right. Any reasons particular why?
Josh Bell's having a great year, and Pittsburgh wouldn't be anywhere close without him. And looked at all the catchers. National League catchers are kind of weak this year, so I gave it to Contreras kind of by default. I didn't really see anybody else out there that was so-called worthy.
And David, just to be honest, I was teasing you about Mike, talking too much. It's me going on a rant. Okay, what happened, and basically my rant was about
DH.
It was about if you take the all-star. What's your definition of an all-star, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, what is your definition while we're going over this?
Well, if you're talking about 2019 All-Stars, it's who's having a good year in 2019. I don't care what you did in 18 or 17. I want to know what you're doing right now. What have you done for me lately?
Okay. And do you determine that strictly by stats, or do you take in all facets of your impression of the player?
Most of it is stats, but a lot of it is my impression of the player. But stats don't lie. I mean, I look at their defense. I look at their offense. Not only their batting average, but I look at the runs they produce. You know, they run producers. I don't care if a guy's 300. If he's just getting singles when nobody's on base, it doesn't really help the team any. I'm looking for guys that get the key hits and knock in the runs, and also that are good defensive. I think Contreras is throwing out the highest percentage of runners trying to steal against him this year. So he's not only an offensive threat, but to me, he's the best defensive threat as far as stopping the run game. It's not Real Muto I thought it would be, but it's Contreras in my book.
All right, so you brought up a point, my point exactly, okay? And you didn't even know, which is awesome, okay?
Mental telepathy.
Which is awesome, but you brought it up. My point was, okay, any player, if you're going on just stats or whatever, is the wrong way to do it because of this situation. When we're talking about National League catchers, right? One of the best National League catchers out there, Yadier Molina, right? But he doesn't get the stats anymore. The reason he doesn't get the stats anymore, now he's a little bit older, right? But
Right.
players now know I don't run on Yadier Molina, right? So when it comes to, well, which catcher has thrown out the most batters? Well, it's kind of a two-edged sword, right? Because if you got players running on the catcher, that means that team doesn't fear that catcher at all, right? As opposed to a catcher who nobody runs on. If you look at his Stratomatic card, he's a -3. You don't run on him unless you got a really good runner.
Yeah.
So that was kind of
It's
my
just like
point was
it's just like Roberto Clemente the day. I mean, he didn't get a whole lot of assists because nobody ran on him.
exactly. And then just say, well, he's not an all-star because he's only thrown out 3 batters this year. Well, he's only had 5 people try.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he's an all-star because of his lack of offense, in my opinion.
Well, I agree with that. But my point was that you can't just base this strictly on stats because if you just because stats can be deceiving, and this is a perfect example because you said Wilson Contreras should be the all-star because he thrown out the most batters, and that is 100% accurate and true statement. But there's something underlying in there that we should remember, in that stats can sometimes fib the numbers a certain way. Just because I've thrown out more players doesn't mean that I'm a better thrower than you. It just means that more players have tried to steal on me, which means they have less fear of me because maybe I'm newer. And then the reason I brought this up is because the fact that there's 31 players making their all-star debut this year, because it's all seems like it's all stat driven, and none of the veteran players are getting their due anymore because of all these, players now know, oh, if I'm rounding second, going to third, I don't want to go on, Jay Bruce in right field because he's got a cannon for an arm, or Bryce Harper, or whoever it happens to be. So he doesn't get the assists, and then he doesn't get voted in the All-Star because he doesn't get any assists, which doesn't make any sense, right?
Well, I mean, I picked Contreras based on his offense. I just threw out the caught stealing because he's not a one-way catcher. He's also a good defensive catcher. Whereas conversely, in the American League, we haven't got there yet, but I don't have Sanchez as my starter because I think he's a one-way player. He's an offensive player. He's a horrible catcher.
Well, let's talk about
that's getting way ahead of the
base for the
National League.
Yep.
I've got Max Muncy, the Dodgers.
All right. Any reason why?
I just think he's having the better year, and he also has, I mean, it doesn't even do with second base, but he can play first base, he can play outfield. But again, it's just second base in the National League to me is kind of not a heavy set position with a lot. There's some good players like Ozzy Albies is out there, and Cesar Hernandez from the Phillies is having a decent year, but I just don't think there's anybody that's a standout. So to me, when I looked at everything in tow, I picked
Mike,
Max Muncy.
Who do you got second, man?
From Arizona, I guess I went with the pick that they went with, Marte. I mean, he's having a good year. He's over 900 OPS. He has over 20 home runs. I mean, Arizona is not a true bandbox. It's it's a good ball. It's good hitters ballpark. It's a automatic. It's not automatic. Stratomatic 20s across the board. I mean, it's a good ball player. I mean, I was looking through this, wondering when the heck did they move Baez to short, who was a natural second baseman? Did they do that this year? David.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
I think he played for it last year too.
I didn't know he died. I didn't think he did. I thought he's just always been a second baseman. I saw
He's been short for a couple of years.
Okay.
Because they had Zobrist playing second a lot too. So, and Addison Russell. They got Addison Russell, I guess, subbing in at second base some as well.
I mean, I guess I chose Baez when we get there, but to me, it's like I'll get around to it.
We're not there yet. Let's not jump ahead, gentlemen.
But Marte was my selection for second base for the D-backs. So,
all right. For me, second base in the National League is like the just the weakest spot, if anything, of all the positions. I think second base is the weakest position.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. That's why I picked Max Muncy just by default almost.
Yeah, and I agree, Max Muncy. I mean, he's had some. You weren't online, but I was talking about, for me, all-stars are the players that make the big plays, that stand above and beyond. So I went with Pete Alonso for first base, since you missed that, David, just because of the fact that he's set the Mets rookie home run totals, and we're only at the end of June. He's, et cetera, et cetera. So for second base, I didn't like any of my picks, but I went with Mike Moustakas of the Brewers, just because he's having a pretty decent season. Seems like he's getting the clutch hit when he needs to, and having a pretty decent season all the way around. He's got like 20, 23, 24 home runs.
He was definitely in the conversation for sure. Who was your catcher? I missed who your catcher was.
I went with Grandal.
Grandal, okay. So it wasn't Molina then, it was Grandal. Okay.
No, I didn't go with Molina. I brought up Molina because I wanted to bring up that point.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so let's now talk about shortstops. When we talk about weak positions, let's talk about shortstops. Mike, we'll have you go first this time.
I went Baez. There wasn't much out there for me to choose from. He should be at second playing. He's one of the most fundamentally great second basemen out there, I thought. I mean, I know where I've been all year, but I never knew they moved Moustakas from third to second. So, but okay, I read that too, and I was like, huh?
Yeah, so, I think they moved Braun back to third.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They've been
I chose Baez. There was a lot there for me to choose from, so I went there. Even American League shortstops weren't that great either, to be honest. So I went with Baez. I mean, he sells the all-star, the idea of it.
Yep. All right, Dave, what do you think?
Well, Baez was in my couple top 2 or 3, but I went with Trevor Story despite the Colorado effect. I thought Trevor Story was having the best year. I've seen him play several games in a row here lately, and he just seems like he's the total package. Offense and defense, both.
All right. Yep. 2 things for shortstop, and they're kind of opposite of one another. They have the one and only Cardinal, I think, that made it this year was Paul DeYoung, who started off April was a beast, and I was like, wow, where'd this come from? But he hasn't done anything since then. I can't even believe he made the All-Star. I didn't choose Baez, and that is because, and I don't know if I'm a little bit biased because he's a Cub, but here's what I don't like, okay? I don't like the fact that when he hits a home run, he's got to stand there for 4 seconds, flip his bat, and do all this funky, jerky stuff to try and show up the pitchers. I don't like that at all.
He is a hot dog for sure.
I think that just takes away from the game, because the kids out there that see that, they're going to be like, oh, I want to emulate this guy. And it's not like he does it once or twice. He does it every single time he gets a home run. The team's up 8-0. He gets a home run. He still does it. He thinks he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I just cannot stand that. He seems ignorant and full of himself. And for that reason alone, even though I think he's probably the best player at shortstop, I knocked him down a notch and I gave it to Trevor Story. So that's what I did. Now, third base is a strong suit for the National League. Who do you got, David?
Well, this is one where it was a toss-up, but this is one where I counted Coors Field against somebody, and I gave it to Anthony Rendon.
Oh, okay.
I think he's well overdue. He has never made an All-Star team before, which I can't believe. He is definitely going this year. But I think he's had the top-notch year, both offensively and defensively, and he's done it without a lot of protection in the lineup. I mean, at least Arenado has other guys around him hitting. But the Nationals, I mean, Soto might hit once in a while, but you got no Zimmerman. Trey Turner wasn't there for a while. I mean, they were in desperate shape offensively for a while, and I just think Rendon has been the steadying force for that team.
All right, Mike, what do you think, man?
I'm a huge Arenado fan. I chose him. I think he is. I mean, I was hoping he would hit the free agent market, but he didn't. So I think he's the. Yeah, I think he's the whole. He's the whole show when it comes to be a third baseman. Hits for power, probably the best fielding third baseman out there. He's what you want to show the fans out there how to play, and he's also having a year to back him up too.
Yeah, I think I went with Arenado. I was almost going to go for the upset and go with Machado, but you know what? Again, I knocked him down a notch because of his antics. I mean, he's got a 1-game suspension that he. Oh, David, we saw you there for a minute.
Yeah.
He has to. He's not in the lineup today because he's on a 1-game suspension for his antics that he pulled with throwing the bat the one day, and so. Just for this, I don't want to reward the players that do those kind of things in an all-star game, and that's why I didn't take Baez. I wouldn't have taken Baez. I would tell the league. I would send a league memo out to all the teams and say, if your players act this way, we don't want them around. Okay, if you want to keep your player, fine, but we don't want them in our league. So I took Arenado because he is a class dude. I mean, super classy dude. And, I mean, watch the guy freaking play, and you're going to know he's one of the best. All right, let's talk. Let's do outfield. Starting 3. If you have more than 3, that's fine, but let's just go with your starting 3 in any order. We'll go with Mike first this time.
Well, boy, this is a huge difference. The AL had a really hard time finding my 3. You're talking about the greatest of the greatest when it comes to the NL outfielders, and that's what I said. I think the NL. We're going to pick a winner eventually. Who's going to win this? But this is your cream of the crop. I got Yelich, Bellinger, Acuna,
Mike's back. Mike, we lost you there, buddy. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, so I said cream of the crop, the best of the best. Yelich, Bellinger, Acuna.
All right, David.
Well, upsets can happen once in a while, and it just did. Me and Mike just agreed all 3.
And you know what? We're going to make it a trifecta. That's how good these 3 guys are. When you're talking about Yelich,
I just thought they were head and shoulders above everybody else.
Absolutely. If you had a team that had Yelich, Bellinger, and Acuna on it, you're headed to the World Series right there because you got.
I put Yelich in right and Acuna in center and Bellinger in left, and we'd be set.
And and the best thing is you'd have your team for the next 10 years if you had that outfield. Oh, yeah. I mean, they're Absolutely. All young. They're Acuna's, they're real young. Bellinger's, what is he, like 23, 24? And then Yelich, I'm not sure how old Yelich is. He's been around a few years, but he's not that old, maybe 28, 29. But
I will say one thing. If my All-Star team, NL All-Star team, could play my AL All-Star team, it'd be a blowout. The NL would kill them.
Well, we'll get to that. Let's talk. Give me 2 starting pitchers and a reliever, if you want.
I only went to 1 starting pitcher. I got to start thinking now on other stuff. All but right. I can do it on the fly. It's no big deal.
All right, Dave, give it to me. 2 starters.
2 starters.
And then one reliever that you think is a standout.
Hyun-Jin Ryu from the Dodgers and Max Scherzer.
And
then my relief pitcher is Tyler Yates from the Padres.
Oh, good choices. Real good choices. All right, Mike?
I agree 100% with David. My paper here is Ryu. I think he's going to start. I think he had the best year between him and Max. and I think Max comes in second after that. And it's going to be not a good AL. They're gonna see two of probably the best pitchers coming on. Bullpen, I didn't do a lot of bullpen out there, but yeah, Yates has been lights out for the Padres. I can definitely see him being the final guy to come in for him.
All right. So mine were a little bit different. I had Soroka for the Braves. Okay. I'm doing my 2018 Braves replay with payoff pitch.
Right.
And I played his first game in the National League in 2018. And I was looking at this guy's card. I'm like, Soraka, whatever his name is. I thought it was like some backup dude. I had no idea who the hell he was because he only came in like 5 games last year, 5-6 games or whatever it was. That kid can freaking pitch. I watched him take the Cardinals apart. Literally took them apart. They couldn't even hit his stuff. I think he's going to be the backbones. In the 90s when the Braves had a really good pitching staff, I think Soroka is going to be part of something like that for the Braves for at least the next 10 years. He's that good. I think he's a beast. And then for my second one, I went with Max Scherzer. Okay, Max Scherzer out there with a black and blue eye and a broken nose, pitching almost a complete game because he's got heart and desire that wants to win for his team. That's what I want everyone in the stands to think about and see when they think about Max Scherzer. I don't want them thinking about, I'm going to flip my bat and show everyone that I just hit a home run. No, I wanted a player that's going to show me some heart and desire that he wants to win and not show off. And that's Max Scherzer. And as far as my reliever goes, how come everybody forgets about Josh Hader? What are you guys, haters? Are you guys haters of the hater or what?
No, but he's come back to earth. He's been getting dinged up a little bit.
He's come back a little bit. But, I mean, he is still I would still think he's the best. I still think he's the best. I think at the end of the season, I think the Padres are going to be really, really happy that he's on his team. So, yeah. So there is our lineups for the National League. Let's go American League. Let's start with catcher. Dave, you go first this time.
Well, like I said, I'm not doing the one-trick pony, so I'm not going to do Sanchez because he's an awful catcher. I went with the other evil empire. I went to Boston and went to Christian Vasquez.
Wow. Okay.
I think he's having a great year.
All right. Mike?
Well, I definitely don't agree. I went with Sanchez. He's having a much better year. He's almost leading the major league in home runs, RBIs. He's totally did a 360 on his season he's had from last year, I think, and he's also throwing out guys, base runners too. So I think it's he deserves that start this year.
Yeah, David, unfortunately, I'm going to have to disagree with you this year. All right. There was a turning point in 2018 last year when Sanchez got reamed for not going after a pass ball in Tampa here, a game in here, and the Yankees ended up losing that game, and he got reamed for that. Ever since then, he seems like he's made a commitment that, okay, I am going to be a complete player. This year, I mean, last year you could throw anything and it was going to get by him. It was going to bounce, and he no chance of blocking it. I watched him play these games in London the other night, and he was blocking everything. He was making all the right throws. He was making all the right calls. I think he is at least the most improved catcher that I've seen in the American League, and I still think he's the top catcher in the American League right now just because of that. So I hate to disagree with you, but I'm going to agree with Mike on that one. Let's go to first base. Let's go with Mike first this time.
Weak position, to be honest, with Santana the write-in starter, I was kind of had to look at the different first basemen that are out there. I went with you know what? No, I can't. I was gonna say I thought maybe going with the Cuban Abreu's having a really good year. He's on the team, but you know what? Santana's statistically wise is having the best year, and he's coming back to Cleveland after being exiled to Philadelphia last year.
All right, Dave.
Santana's who I had on my list. I think he's keeping Cleveland afloat because their offense is struggling. But Kipnis has picked it up, and Santana has picked it up right where he left off 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's a trifecta for us. Santana is, like Mike said, I think first base. I still think there's another position that's weak out there. But I think weak first base for sure in the American League, and Santana kind of takes it by default. So let's go to second now. Second base. Mike, let's go Dave this time. Let's go Dave.
Boy, I was torn because I had a 50-50. There's two guys that I think are both deserving of it. I'll probably get disagreed with again, but I went with Whit Merrifield of Kansas City.
Wow, that's kind of a shock, but okay, that's a good one. And
he's leading the league in hits as far as I know.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike?
I mean, I wanted DJ LeMahieu bad, but I went with Merrifield instead.
I'm a Yankee fan, and I should choose LeMahieu to be honest, and I did. But how do you choose somebody who doesn't have a position? He's been playing first, second, third all year long. They basically found him a position, be an all-star. To be an all-star starter, shouldn't you be an all-star starter at the majority of your innings at a position? Maybe he was, but he's been all over the place this year. I mean, he's having 900 plus OPS, having an unbelievable year, a great signing and everything. Is he the best? Is he the starting second baseman? He deserves to be on the team, but I don't know if he deserves to be a starter. But again, it's a kind of a weak position, so I chose him. But I'll go with him. But I don't think he's the best. I think they just threw him in there for that case.
All right. So who did you go with? I'm sorry.
LeMahieu.
Okay. That's who I went with as well. They classified him, I guess, as a first baseman. And if you talk about, the New York Yankees, the offense they're having, it all starts with DJ LeMahieu, I think. You can talk about all the big boppers, but unless you got people on base and getting on base constantly, which, I mean, every single game, this guy seems like he's got 3 or 4 hits every single time. And, I think he's solid defensively, and I think we'll leave him in the All-Star game. So we're going to short now, shortstop. Mike?
I went with the Twins, and again in weaker position. I went with the Twins, Polanco. He has over 20 plus home runs, having a great year. I think he's probably the best at that position right now.
David?
Again, it's another one by default. I went with Polanco as well because you've had injuries to Lindor and to Correa, so he kind of fell into his lap.
Yeah.
And Bogarts has had kind of a down year. So.
Yeah. That's exactly what I thought. I mean, I wanted to choose Lindor, but I couldn't justify the pick because he's been out too much. Mm-hmm. So I think Lindor is probably a better player. Is he an all-star now? Not by my definition. So yeah, it goes to Polanco. So let's go to third. David.
This might surprise some people. I don't know, but I'm going out west to Mr. Chapman in Oakland.
You took my surprise pick, Dave. That's who I had, was Chapman from Oakland. I figured nobody's heard of him, right? And he's going to make.
Oh no, I've definitely heard of him.
I mean, you've heard of him, but I think if you ask 90% of the people out there, they'd be like, third base for Oakland? I have no idea. I think Chapman's having a great year. What about Mike? What do you think? Are we right? Of course we're right. Are you wrong is the question.
No, I have a problem with Bregman being the third baseman because he's been playing short all year with Correa being out. So to me that's a little bit of a problem. Yeah, I mean, and most of the top third basemen are in the National League with Donaldson and Ariando. Is having a great year. I mean, Jose Ramirez is having an awful year for the Indians this year. I mean, that's the reason why I picked the A's to be in the top tier because of Olsen and Chapman and everything down. I would go with you for that. If I can take Bregman out of there, I'll jump on your bandwagon for you.
Outfield, 3 outfielders. David?
Boy, you want to talk about weak. Compared to what I'm thinking, what I used to think of outfielders, compared to the National League, put it that way. They're okay. They're good players, but not compared to the National League. My 3 are Michael Brantley, Mike Trout, and Trey Mancini.
Ooh, okay. All right. Brantley, Trout, and Mancini. What about you,
Mancini
Mike?
should have made the All-Star team, not Means, but Mancini should have made it for the Orioles.
Well, it's a shame Gallows is hurt because Gallows is having an unbelievable year. So he should be in there. That would improve that team 100%. I mean, basically it's the Three Stooges with Trout and his 2 running mates. It's Springer got one of the starts, but again, he's one of those guys that won by merit alone. He did not win it by stats. He's coming back from missing for majority of the first half, actually. So, and Brantley is probably one of the best picks that they came up with. So I agree there for Brantley also. So who should be there should be Brantley, Gallo, and Trout. To be honest, we're not talking injuries, but Gallo is going to get replaced by somebody. So
okay. I have Trout. I have Michael Brantley, which I think was like David said earlier, one of the best pickups in the off season. But I have I hate to say it, but I have Mookie Betts in the outfield because when we're talking all stars, we're talking about players that make the big plays, and it seems like every damn time I watch them, he's making a big play. Some diving stop out there, or some big home run, or running around the big, from first to home on a single. I saw that the other day. Guy hits a single, he runs from first all the way around the home, and they were down 8 runs. I think maybe that was the first run against the Yankees the other day. Seems like he's hustling, and I think he deserves one of the spots over anybody else. I would rather have Mookie Betts up to bat than just about anybody else in the outfield that you can name except for Mike Trout and maybe Michael Brantley. So that's why he gets my nod. All right. Starting pitching, 2 starters and a reliever. And we'll go with Mike first.
should be starting. I think it's going to be a pair of old Tiger mates. I think it's going to be Verlander is going to be one of your starters. And second one, not a lot of dominant shutdown starters like there are in the National League with Ryu and Scherzer. To be honest, there's so many runs being scored. There's just not a lot of good pitchers being out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot who's on the list and who made it for the National League. To be honest, that's how unimpressed I guess I was with everybody.
For relief pitching, it was Presley, Shane Green, Brad Hand, and Aroldis Chapman.
I mean, Chapman's been great all year too, and so has Presley's been a great find for the Astros. Who made it for the American League for the starters, for the starting pitchers?
Verlander, Cole, Giolito, Minor, Odorizzi, Stroman.
That's exactly why I couldn't think of one.
And Charlie Morton. Don't forget about Charlie Morton now.
Morton started tonight, so I bet you he won't. I was looking at the pitchers a minute ago to see who pitched tonight. who would possibly have to go Sunday and basically eliminate their chances of playing. So hopefully we'll see who pitches Sunday for some of these teams. So that's what Major League Baseball does. If you pitch on Sunday, you're not pitching in the All-Star game. So, which is weird. I'd probably go with the two Astros. Probably they're the ones who got in there. Probably Verlander and Cole. And for my reliever, I'd probably take Chapman.
All right, Mike or David. Sorry.
Well, this is the only position where I actually have stats I came prepared with.
Whoa, we got
Yeah.
stats here.
To justify my one pick. So, because I originally just picked one pitcher, not two, remember? So, as a throw-in, I'll throw in Verlander as my number 2 pitcher. But to me, the guy that should be starting the All-Star game is Lucas Giolito. He's 11-2 on a team with a losing record. And he's not getting any support. So how he won 11 games is beyond me. He's obviously doing something. So, and I still count wins to be very important for a starting pitcher. So the Sox are 39-42. Giolito's 11-2. Without Giolito, they're 28-40. So that's why I picked Giolito as my number 1. And if I have to pick a second one, I'll go with Verlander. And then a reliever, there's not many that really standout ones there, but I'll go with Brad Hand. I think he's pretty good for Cleveland. I think he shuts the door a lot of times. Chapman has some control problems and can give away some games sometimes.
Yeah, I think Verlander gets it by default. I think the balance of powers finally switched to the National League. As the American League, when you compare them spot for spot, it just seems like the National League can take them in just about every single position.
So you know what's going to happen? You know the American League is going to win the game now because of all this. So.
Well, that will be my final question when we get to it here in a second. So Verlander is going to get my number 1 spot. I really, really wanted to give it to Charlie Morton. Okay, hometown, Tampa Bay Ray, you gotta love him. But he started off so good, and then what happened? Oh my gosh, he got hammered like his last 3 or 4 starts. He's like 1-3 or something really bad. His ERA went way up. I don't even know if he deserves to be an all-star anymore. So, to have a second one is kind of, I like the stats that you gave me for Giolito. I wouldn't have known those. So, you know what? I'm gonna jump on Dave's bandwagon. I'm gonna go with Lucas Giolito as my number 2. And just like
Jake Odorizzi's had a good year too. I mean, he's certainly worthy as well.
Yeah. As far as relievers, I couldn't even think of one except for Chapman and our Aldous Chapman. I couldn't even think of another one. After I looked at the list, I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, all right, yeah, they're all good." Probably just Chapman from namesake, right? But I'm gonna go with David again, and so we do agree on a lot of things. I'm gonna go with Brad Hand. I think he does. I think he's more important. All star. I think he's more important. I think the Yankees can win without Chapman, and Chapman hasn't done anything spectacular. I think Hand it's basically kept the Indians from going down 16 games, to Minnesota. So, all right, so we're going to run out of time here shortly. We went way over, but that's okay because we're having fun talking. But let's talk predictions, outcome, who's going to win and who's going to get MVP if you had to make a guess. So, of course, we're guessing, but so that way we'll have something to reference next at the end of July. So I'll start so you guys can copy off of me as usual. Moni G's in the house. Hello, Moni. How you doing? Thanks for coming on by. Appreciate it. We are just winding up. We've had a long stream here, talking some good baseball. All right, so the final score is going to be, and who's going to win, obviously, right? So I want to pick National League is going to win 5-2. And the MVP of your 2019 All-Star game is going to be Christian Yelich. Bing! I've done it. record it, set it up. Next session, you're gonna watch this. You guys are you're gonna be like, no way he guessed that ahead of time. Mike?
I'm guessing I'm an American League guy. I'm rooting for the American League all the time, but the winner of this one is going to be, I think it's time for the NL to win. I mean, it doesn't matter, but I think they win it 4-2. You're almost right. Ha. So the MVP is going to come from the outfield, but it's not going to be Mr. Yelich. It's going to be the former Yankee son, Mr. Bellinger.
All right. And Mr. David decided to end early because his phone keeps crapping out on us. All right. Well, that'll be about a wrap here. We'll have another show at the end of July. Next time, we're going to be talking about all the free agency because we all know July 31st is the trade deadline. This year, there's no extended trade deadline or anything like that. Everything's got to be done. So we're going to have a very, very busy show next month. And we'll also get to talk about the All-Star game and all the other important things that happened in July. Did we miss anything there, Mike, that you can think of?
We had a busy month. We hit on a lot of different subjects. I think we're good.
We did. We hit on a lot. There was the London series, the player's death. What else do we talk about? Geez, there's so many things that we did talk about. The free agents, Kimbrel and
Keuchel
and Kimbrel. The standings.
City movements, and we did our normal standings too. So
yeah, we did a lot. So I want to thank Baseball Demos and of course Sports Time Machine. Why don't you give everyone a nice update on your channel? Let them know what's coming up so they can look forward to coming and checking out stuff that's coming up on your channel.
All right. So a little spoiler alert. I think when I get it all revved up and running, I'm trying to do this greatest teams kind of league. Basically, what I'm trying to do is find Stratomatic's best teams from each franchise in Super Advanced for the PC. I'm gonna be rolling my own dice on the game, picking like the Yankees, and then letting everything else go auto on it, and do some broadcasts that way. So when I'm ready to go there, it should be a lot of fun when I go there. So, and I'm going to take your thing, and since you're so high on the 2011 season, I originally had the 82 Cardinals, but I'm going to go ahead and put the 2011 Cardinals in there and see how they compete with everyone else. So we'll see how well that goes.
Nice. Excellent. And you're finishing up any projects right now?
I'm not finishing up anything right now. It's kind of doing some things here and there, but nothing's, kind of a lot of doing here and there projects right now. So,
all right, looks like David's back for our finale here.
I'm back as long as my phone will hold out.
Oh, we're only going to go another minute. Just give us a final score. Who's going to win? Who's MVP of the All-Star game? So we'll have it on tape.
Wow, I didn't come prepared for. I
got to be prepared for everything, man. When you come on,
I guess I'm going to have to be. I just think the National League has assuming now. See, I don't know if some of these National League pitchers are going to pitch on Sunday and not be able to pitch in the game. So I'm hoping that Ryu and Scherzer and Soroka will all pitch in the game. If they do, I think National League wins. I'll say 6-3. And if you want an MVP, that one's a tough call. Probably gonna be somebody that you least expect. I'll go with Trevor Story.
Awesome. All right. Why don't you give everyone an update on your projects that are on your channel and anything that's going to be upcoming on your channel?
Well, I think the first part takes care of not having anything upcoming because I got so much stuff going on now. But I do have the Chicago White Sox replay. Next video will be tomorrow. It'll be game 50. So I did make it to game 50. So I'm almost 1/3 of the way there. Sox are in a little bit of a tailspin, but they're playing first place Minnesota, so that'll be interesting. Get them on the video. And, of course, Manic Monday is a different game every Monday at noon, kind of taking off what Uncle Ron did with his noontime thing. So this coming Monday will be Payoff Pitch 2018. I'm sorry, it'll be That's 2 weeks away. It'll be the All-Star game, APA 1941 All-Star game.
Right. Looking forward to checking that out. And then the following week will be payoff pitch.
Payoff pitch. It'll be payoff pitch 2018 from July 8th, Milwaukee and Pittsburgh. I'm trying to get different teams so we don't see the Red Sox and Mets and Yankees and everything. I'm trying to pick different teams that play that day in that particular card set that I happen to have in the rotation. So when I look at all the games from July 8th, I thought Milwaukee Pittsburgh looked like the best matchups. That's why I picked it.
Awesome. Great channels. If you guys are not subscribers, make sure you do subscribe. Sports Time Machine and Baseball Demos, make sure you subscribe to their channels. And want to thank them for all of their kind words and thoughtful insight and just great banter back and forth. We look forward to having a great month of July. And boy, as we talked about, we're going to have a lot to talk about our next time we get together, because we're going to have the trade deadline coming up and all the trading and players, teams going for it, teams not going for it. So the last question I'm going to ask you guys before we get off is if you're going to put a prediction on right now, we don't know anything, or I don't know anything, but if I was going to say your American League team and your National League team that you think after July 31st is going to come out looking the best, who's going to make the best moves? Either, I'm going to dump a lot of payroll, I'm going to give you all my good players, I'm going to get a whole bunch of good players in return, and I'll be good in 5 years like the Astros did, or I'm going for it, I'm going to give you as much as you want, but I want this player. Who do you think is going to make the biggest splash? One for the American League and one for the National League. And I'll let Mike go first for the National League because he's an American League guy. And then I'll let David go first for the American League since he's a National League guy.
Sounds fair.
Yeah, of course. So, Mike, American League team you think is going to make the biggest splash?
I don't think the Dodgers are going to. I mean, the Dodgers they made that move for Machado last year, but I think this year,
American League.
No, you said you want him to go first for National.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. All right, go National League. That's fine. Go National League first.
Yeah,
let's do that.
Okay, and so pretty quickly, basically, I think I don't think the Dodgers do anything to improve. I think they are where they're at. They are who we think they are, but I think the team that might need to make that last improvement are going to be the Braves. I think they're going to spend money, new ballpark, and try to beat the Dodgers this year. And they might be you might see another Yankee Brave World Series at the end of the year if it keeps up. Who knows? So,
all right, National League for David.
I think the Cardinals are going to make the splash. I think they're going to go out and get that relief pitcher they need, that closer. I think they're going to make the splash to win the Central.
All right, I think you're 100% almost correct. I think it is going to be somebody from the National League Central Division. I think what's going to end up happening is the Cardinals, the Brewers, and the Cubs. All three of them are going to come down to the wire, and one of those three teams is going to jump out and grab it. And I don't think it's going to be the Cardinals, and I don't think it's going to be Milwaukee. I think the Cubs, since they got Keuchel,
Kimbrel.
I'm sorry, Kimbrel, right. Since they got Kimbrel, now they got to go, okay, so we went halfway there. Now we got to go the rest of the way and get somebody else. And because they're going to lose again today, they're losing to Pittsburgh 2-0 or something like that. So they're going to know they're going to need help, and I think all three of these teams are going to be close enough that somebody's going to need to make a move, and I think the Cubs do it. So that'll be my opinion. But I would love to – I hope David's right. I hope I'm wrong. American League, David, you get to go first.
Well, it goes against the trend of the team, but I think Oakland's going to make the splash.
Wow, yeah.
Don't be surprised if Madison Bumgarner doesn't cross the bridge over to Oakland.
All right, David or Mike.
I will stay with sentimental loyalties. That's never good. Cashman, Steinbrenner don't like to see the Red Sox win a World Series, and they don't care about the luxury tax. They don't care about money, and I hope maybe, like David was talking earlier, may they talk about Stroman and get that piece over. I'd love to see Baumgartner in a Yankee uniform, but maybe I don't know. Maybe Stroman might be the better choice. So I'm thinking it's going to be. I think they want to win it this year. If they don't get to the World Series this year, it'll be the first decade they don't get a team in. So it means a lot to this organization. I think they're going to make the splash.
I agree that they do need to, because otherwise it'll be the first decade they have not had a World Series participant. I know we got in that last month, but it was the fact that they had someone in the World Series not winning the World Series. But I think the American League team that's going to make the biggest splash is going to be the Minnesota Twins. I think they are going to make a big time push for Bumgarner. I think Bumgarner is going to go to Minnesota. I think Minnesota realizes they can match the one team that they can't beat, which is the Yankees, in offense. They can't match him in pitching yet. They're going to make a splash. They're going to get the pitcher that can come in and do the job. And I wouldn't be surprised if they actually get two players that's going to help them. But I think Minnesota this is the year they got to go all in, because they have got the team, but they can't beat the Giants the way they are right now, and I think they know that. So that's my prediction for that. But that's going to be our wrap for this week. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming by. I do appreciate all your wisdom, your time, your effort, and everything you do. David, don't forget your homework for next month, end of July. And we'll have a busy show talking about that. And thanks all of our viewers that came by. Tabletop Sports Delaware, Moni G, Sean Cummings. Boy, there was just so many good people. I have to scroll way back. Clinton Parks, Dave Garner, Tribe Fan 879, MP Fox, DJ John 4444. Who else came by that I miss in here? Probably a couple people I've missed. Yeah, sorry about that. Oh, Glenn came by for a little while. That was nice. V-Longs came by. So, anyways.
And I learned something today, too.
What's that? That I'm always right?
I learned not to tell Clinton he's right.
Don't do that. No.
I won't officially.
Because once he finds that out, we'll never hear the end of it. He'll be, you know how Clinton is. He'll have his disco lights going, his little disco ball. He'll put on his little glossy purple shirt again, and we'll never get rid of him. All right, guys.
It's not baseball related, but I just got a flash on my phone saying Lee Iacocca died.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I said, it's not baseball related, but just came on the little headline. Famous car maker.
Right. All right, ladies and gentlemen watching, and Moni and all of our other people, thank you for coming by. And, of course, a big thank you to Dave and Mike for coming by. We'll see everyone next month. Hopefully we'll get Ronnie back and maybe a couple other participants as well. Till that time, thanks, guys, for coming by. We'll see you guys next time.